And hello, how are you? Welcome in to Gwynn and Chris. Happy Wednesday to you. 2:01 is the time. Kicking things off here next 4 hours. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby, together in our Odyssey Palace studios on San Diego's #1 sports talk station, 97.3 The Fan. Actually, a big long day for you to settle back in. Wednesdays. You get Gwynn and Chris till 6. You get the Scraby Chronicles from 6 to 7. And then...
Big Sam.
Big Sam. Big Sam. Sammy Levitt will have the Inside San Diego baseball show from 7 to 9 tonight. So you're set for the foreseeable future. Before we get into it, some trade rumors, talk about Padres. We'll get into that shortly. Also, Aztecs basketball last night. Then how much of that anybody watched?
It was a close one.
Not really. Not really. We'll talk a little bit of Aztecs hoops. We got NFL later with Brent Sobleski, one of our favorites from Bleacher Report. And Bryce Miller's going to join us today as well. We also have a new segment.
Real quick,
sir.
can I give? I think we should give some love to our producer. The Brent Sobleski pull.
That has been like the white whale for Scraby for a while.
And he finally was able to lock him in, have some NFL talk. And, you know, it's a step up for Mr. Scraby.
This is a backhanded compliment.
It is. Usually Scraby gives a half a phone call, and if the guy says no, that's kind of the end of it. But
I respect people when they tell me no.
Scraby used to be like
really
the annoying mosquito.
Yes.
He is no longer the annoying mosquito.
We want the gnat back.
He's polite.
The GNAT.
He is
like that little annoying
considerate
bug.
of other people's time, which
Stop doing that.
Which doesn't actually make him a good producer now. Like when he was the gnat
is happening
and was like constantly calling people. We had Brent Sobleski all the time.
You know what I think nowadays? Maybe why I was different in the beginning, because we need to pave our own way, and now we're a show that's established in San Diego. If the people say no, sorry.
I see. So now when they don't want to come on, we're too big to ask a second time.
No, I always try to get people on. I always do. And I always feel bad for the third time when I'm like, okay, here's an example.
For the record, I'm just giving Scraby a hard time.
No, I think
he's giving you a rough ride into the boards here.
Let me give you an example. So I'll text. I'll use Kirk Kenny. This has not happened, but I'm going to use Kirk Kenny because he's a friend.
Okay.
I'll text him. Hey, can you come on Thursday at 2:40? And he'll be like, can't do 2:40. I'll be like, all right, what about 3:40? Can't do 3:40. That's when I'm like, do I really want to go back in for the third time?
Okay. Since you brought it up, was there a time where you didn't think about, is there really a third? You just did it.
I think I was more focused on providing the guests than anything. Like, I know nowadays we can
we'll get back to that.
Go nonsense. Hey, Tony's been a better producer in the last couple of weeks than I have. That's for sure.
That's, I think, where this is born from, right here.
To be fair, at the beginning, I completely wasn't comfortable asking more than once. Once I got a no, I said, hey, sorry, man, can't do
You've
anything.
also come a long way in inviting people on the show, because there were a few times, like I would be like, in my head, if Tony just asked this person, it would be so much easier. My life would be so much easier. Tony, can you help? No? Okay. All right, I got to go find someone else.
Well, I definitely not good at that. The way I ask people is, hey, you don't want to
true.
come on our show, do you? That's normally my approach.
Not a good way.
And that's why I don't ask.
We've all evolved on the asking
Doesn't sound like
guests.
Chris is involved at all.
Chris? No, he hasn't evolved.
I do remember the first day of the show, Chris did come through big with some guests. He came through with...
Steve Fisher came on the
Steve Fisher did
show.
come on.
Sure did.
I think Jim Trotter came on that day.
Yeah, I put all my I sent all my markers out for the first day, and I've kind of been lagging ever since. Well, today's a good one because Bryce Miller's always good talking baseball and everything San Diego, and Brent Sobleski is really great on football. So
we need you on the camera, too.
That is a little bit later on. Did I not? Yes, I don't think I've signed up yet. I'll try to do that as I'm talking here. I'm off to a kind of a shaky start today for a couple of reasons, but here's the main reason. I already had to watch the Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series. Now I come into the studio to do the show, and what does Elston leave up on the television?
Yankees,
The MLB
Dodgers.
Network, which is playing
Yeah.
the World Series again. Please.
It was on yesterday,
Somebody get a
too.
clicker.
You're distracted because of this.
A little
huh?
distracted. It was hard enough to watch the Dodgers win it once. I don't want to watch them win it again.
See, when you
heard
watch
that.
it
Please.
over, it should be easier to
Nah,
handle.
It's not.
You don't want to see.
I think it's tougher to handle this time. I don't want to see this ever
because
again.
now you know what happens. Before you're watching, you don't really know.
There was
exactly,
a chance
you're
they could be
right.
beat.
Well, future Padre Walker Buehler is pitching right now, so we should actually be scouting what he's doing at the moment.
I say give me a clicker. The other reason I'm a little sour is because, not really sour, but a little, is because there was only one parking spot left today when I got to work. And that's okay, except for the fact that the spot that was open was surrounded on either side by two of those enormously way too huge pickup trucks. You know, the ones that take up like a spot and a half?
Yes.
When did we get to where we had to make pickup trucks so large that they really don't fit with the rest of the world?
I mean, it's
This
really,
is a
it's been going. It's been,
truck-size gripe. I love this.
First of all,
when did I miss that memo?
At least
When they-
2000.
Really? It's been
Yes.
25 years that we've had trucks driving
at
around
least.
that
At
are
least.
insanely huge. I mean,
At least.
these trucks belong in a monster truck rally, not out in the street parking in my parking
Where
lot.
are you parked? Can I go run downstairs real quick, get a
Take a
picture of these
picture.
trucks, and
Well,
block out
you
the
can
license
barely
plate?
see my car. I
Where
mean, it's,
Where is everything?
it's shadowed there. Look,
He's
I
not going
don't
to tell me. He's not going to
I
tell
don't
me.
begrudge somebody a large truck, but I mean a large truck. It's crazy. And wouldn't you know, you can see this coming a mile away. Both trucks backed in. Of course. I mean, what would somebody whose truck is in everybody's way to begin with do when it comes to parking?
Listen.
They would get in everybody's way for just a little bit longer while they try to somehow force their round hole into a square peg, because that's what it's like trying to park to one of those trucks in a spot.
Couple of questions.
Go.
Are they in between their lines?
The wheels are touching the lines, but that means the rest of the car is hanging out on the side because it's so big.
I know there's a couple
And
spots.
there's no way to get the wheels in the lines because the wheels are bigger than my car alone.
That is the fun part about being in the big truck is that you're gonna back in there and you're gonna have basically
You're going to
have
clear
take
everything out.
Your car is going to be protected just on its
And now
size
that I've
alone.
said this, when I come out after the show, my car will probably be sandwiched by both cars trying to leave the parking spot. I'll be an Oreo.
You
by
know,
the end
I
of
did
this.
see when I was pulling up today, I did have to wait behind a car that was backing into the spot and couldn't
See?
do it. Had to
that's
take a second go at it.
I gotta say,
But I couldn't yell because you know why? And I waited. It was like an undercover, unmarked police car, and so
you
it said
wait
the
for it.
California exempt on the license plate. I was like, thankfully, I
See?
did not honk at this person.
Even our law enforcement
But,
is
hey,
parking backwards,
yeah,
baby. That's
well,
where it's at.
they can't do it apparently.
not where it's
Took
at.
them two
Can
times.
I say there is a caveat.
Okay.
If you are going to be a reverse parker, you got to
Learn how to do
You
it.
got to be on point.
Yes, you made
can't-
this point last
when
time.
you're taking multiple bites of the apple, now you're giving people fodder to be upset with you.
Yeah, that's absurd. If you've got to back your
I
car
love
in,
how this devolved
which
back
I think
into
is absurd
backwards
in the
parking.
beginning, but at least get it right when you're pulling in. But these trucks are just absolutely gigantic. I don't know how big you need a truck to be
I
out
love
there.
that you just now noticing these trucks. By the
Oh,
way,
I've noticed them, but I'd never, trying to
Are they
sneak my car.
dualies?
Are they what?
Dualies?
I didn't read
that's
two tires
the
in the
two
back.
tires in the back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those are the big bad boys.
I don't know. These trucks are just enormous. So
I'm gonna go look for his car in the break. I gotta see what these trucks look like. And I would love for it to be like two small cars next to him because the truck's left.
Well, that could have happened by now, what all I know, and hopefully they didn't hit my car on the way out.
I got a daily gripe from Brandon. People that drive BMWs and Mercedes parking sideways across multiple spots so no one can park next to them.
Wow,
that's a fair gripe.
That's a bold.
But if it's in the back of the parking lot, I don't care.
No, that's a fair gripe.
Like
Taking
where
up
no
two
one
spots?
else is parking?
Yeah, if there's open spots, but when you're parking in a parking lot that is like
It's full, it's
during
busy.
the holiday season, you're taking up a couple spots, your tires are going to be gone
if
when
you're
you get
parking
back.
your car sideways,
That's weak.
You're asking.
Yeah, somebody
trouble.
should
You
key
are
your
asking.
car at the very minimum.
You're 1,000% at. You're
the very
1,000%
minimum.
asking for it.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the video?
I agree with that
sent
one
out?
1,000%.
I sent out a video on YouTube, and it was met with a lot of disdain by backward parkers everywhere. It was at the Padres game when I was in the MTS lot, and this guy could not back up. So I started videoing the guy, and I commented in the background like, "Backwards parkers, man!" And then the backwards parker community came out in droves.
Yeah, our community's thick. We're not.
Oh,
we're
I'm
not
sure
to be,
I'm
we're
gonna
not
hear-
to be messed with.
I'm gonna hear from the big truck people here any moment
yeah,
now.
you definitely gonna hear
yeah.
from the big truck people.
Because the big truck people might be farmers. They might be people that need the big truck for
No
some
way.
reason.
Nobody
tow
needs a
things.
truck that big.
There's a lot of people
no
that...
way. You're not
said-
hauling anything that
He
important.
said no way.
Come on. Please
Yeah.
do me a favor. All right. Anyway, I'm here safely and soundly. Here's
Oh, wait. Sorry, I have the backwards parking video, but it's too late now. I was
Yeah,
trying to pull
we don't
that
need
up.
to see it.
That's okay. Here's the deal.
We
The
know
White
we're in the
Sox
right.
say they're likely to trade all-star lefty Garrett Crochet. ESPN is reporting this. But what they would like in return is a high-end position player.
What does that mean?
That means somebody not
All-star.
a pitcher, but at least somebody. I would assume somebody pretty
Somebody
good.
young that's on the rise. Like there's.
I would think somebody that's established and good.
Okay.
So I'm asking.
So not necessarily all-star, but somebody who could be on the cusp of being that.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't think that they want a minor leaguer. It sounds like they want somebody who's there and already ready to play. Now, Crochet is a kind of an in-demand guy. Padres need a pitcher. Would you explore this if you were the Padres? And if so, where would you go to explore it? I mean, I don't know the top of the line position player the Padres could dangle out there, even if they really wanted to get in on this.
I don't know that there's a player.
Don't think so. Okay, fair enough.
Excuse me. I don't know if there's a player on the Padres roster that covers that.
Right.
I also, despite him coming here and proving the point that he was plenty healthy and plenty good when he pitched here at the end of the year, I still wouldn't do it. Like, his injury history is still his injury history. I know he had a good season, stayed healthy, and that's great. But in terms of making a move and trading for him, I think there are other safer bets in terms of the injury history than Crochet. He's plenty talented enough, but again, you have to be able to depend on those.
He's been injured every other year but last year.
Right. And last year was his first year as a starter. So, there's too many variables that you can't control. And you have to get those innings back that you're going to lose from Joe Musgrove.
Right. And if you trade a player that is a key part of your team,
It sounds like it's going to be a
then you
somebody
truly have to get something back.
Right.
And get those innings.
And it's not
covered.
and it's not to say that you wouldn't, but there's risk in it is what I'm saying. And it may be too big of a risk.
Too big of a risk.
Yeah.
Scraby, what about you? Being the wheeler dealer that you are out there.
Well, Garrett Crochet did help me win a fantasy championship last year.
He's what he's
Why
basing
did
his
I
opinions
ask?
off of.
I don't know about his arm going forward. I don't think you can give up someone who's very good or very highly coveted.
Who would that, let me ask you, here's a better question. Who would that player be?
Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
thinking.
you're not giving up Jackson Merrill.
Oh, come on.
Right,
That's
so
not
it's a
even,
non-
That's what the White
not
Sox
even a
want.
Put
discussion.
Jackson aside. Is there another
Not
player?
a discussion.
Give me a second.
No.
On the team,
There isn't. I don't think there's another player that
Luis Ariz.
he's not gonna get Crochet.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't think so? So you think the
Not
only
a
thing that we
shot.
get Crochet is Jackson Merrill? Well, then that's a waste of our
I'm
time.
not saying Jackson Merrill. I'm just saying it's gonna have to be a caliber player of that. I mean, Jackson was an all-star, so maybe he's a tier 2 high. but just below that. And who is that player on the Padres
I
roster?
have 2 names. Ethan Salas.
Nope.
Leah Dallas. Is it DeVries or DeVry?
They said they
I
want
always
it.
forget.
They say they want a guy that
is ready.
Those guys ain't ready.
We don't have one. I mean, we have
Exactly.
too much money invested in Cronenworth and in Bogarts and in Manny, and we have too much invested in Merrill and Fernando. So that's it. I mean, who else would be qualified for this?
Here's one I've been
we
seeing.
don't have the. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we don't have the player, or we aren't willing to move that player.
Okay, here's what I've been seeing a little bit on social media because, and this would be kind of cold because Dylan Cease was a White Sox, but because he only has 1 more year left, we're not sure if he's going to re-sign with the team. He would probably get you.
No.
I know you're just
he's not going to
trading
get
a
you
righty
Garrett
for a
Crochet.
lefty.
Well, they're not going to get Garrett Crochet.
He's not a position player.
They just said they want a position player.
Never mind.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying. I'm trying to make it work.
Yeah,
stop,
well, you're not.
Stop listening to social media because that's where you said.
Yeah,
that
social media just led you down the road to ruin there.
It wasn't
By the
necessarily
way-
they're saying Garrett.
By the way,
yeah.
by the way, he would. Dylan Cease just got out of there. What makes you think he would sign a free agent deal there? So
He
it's
would.
like a rental player, basically.
Can we strike that from the record? That
Yeah.
was pretty stupid.
Too late. Too late.
Pretty
Everybody
stupid
already heard.
suggestion.
I would say don't look at the chat right now.
You're dumb and you said it. All right, program is underway.
Wait, hold on. Hey,
took you too long.
did Kirby Smart just walk in the room?
It took you a little bit to catch it. I was waiting for you to
I
catch
was reading some of the comments, but yeah, okay, here's a comment. Luis Campusano and some more.
that. I don't think that.
I don't think Luis did enough to draw Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
We'll
Kirby
continue
Smart
to
over there.
kick it around here. Gwynn and Chris and, the other guy here who makes outlandish suggestions. Aztecs did win very comfortably last
time.
night. We'll talk about that a little bit and more as Gwynn and Chris resumes on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, it's Ben Higgins, and I'm targeting
2:23 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. Hanging out till 6 o'clock. Bryce Miller will join us later in the 2 o'clock hour. Brent Sobleski in the 5 o'clock hour. Talk a little NFL. We have our first dose of a new segment called Debate.
Well, I think it's called. What was the name, Chris? It was Face Off, right?
Face Off. No, what was it?
We could do Face Off.
As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, it's still coming
still
together.
In development. It's still in development.
Yep.
I have it written down somewhere.
No, point, counterpoint.
That's it.
Was
Point,
what I had.
counterpoint.
And my idea, try this, Tony, was for both of us to turn sideways in the camera so it looks like we're arguing with each other.
I got to figure out which way is that.
Wait, let me
Look at the
see.
camera.
Let me see.
This way?
Yeah,
you
you're
look
good.
that
That's
way,
perfect.
then I'd have to look this way.
That's perfect.
But it'd be kind of silly. We'd talk like this
because
the
the
whole
mic
time.
doesn't stretch
No,
out
the
that
mic
far.
doesn't work that way. But that was kind of one of my thoughts.
Yes, point counterpoint is what I have.
Point counterpoint. We're going to have that new debut segment at 3:40 today. If I were you, I would set my clock because you don't want to miss the very first one.
No.
There's a couple of reasons why.
There's a couple of reasons, right. It could be
one,
brilliant.
It could go on to be one of the greatest
Right.
segments, and then you would say you were there from the beginning.
Right.
And then the other thing is it has a chance to fail miserably
And never hear from it again.
because it's not been tested on an audience. Like we didn't bring in an audience and test it.
No.
You're the test out there.
That's what I love about this show is we just try things, and if it doesn't work, then we get rid of it and we
We'll
never
try
speak
it.
of it again.
Like it never happened.
Yeah, like this game I played when Chris was on vacation. It was maybe it was a fill-in game for Chris versus the fans, and during the middle of it, I'm like, "This is terrible," but I'm going to keep going with it.
Who was with you on this one? Was I
Adam
here?
was here that day.
Okay.
Yeah, Adam didn't really. I explained the game to him, and I could kind of tell, like, ugh, this is too
See,
complicated.
Adam lets you go out on the plank by yourself.
That's
there.
fine. I needed it.
Yeah,
I needed
you
it.
You know darn well if that Chris and I were here, we probably wouldn't have gotten to the stage floor on that one.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
What are we thinking about a basketball game where the Aztecs lead 18-0, make 18 threes, hit 10 of their first 12? They were on pace to score 180 points for a while. They end up beating Occidental 100-49. I know that you have to play one non-division, one opponent every year, but I kind of felt like that was almost a waste last night.
It shouldn't.
I mean,
it
they got to
shouldn't be this
run.
one.
They got to run up and down the floor and all that. But, I mean, what did we really learn watching them shoot uncontested shots all night against an overmatched opponent?
It may not necessarily be for our team to learn anything in that game, at least in terms of, a tough opponent. But,
Right.
Get out there on the floor, continue to get the conditioning that you're going to need all season long.
Get some of the young guys a little extra playing time. I know Kimo Ferrari got in there and hit 3 threes in like a minute.
That's a sweet name, by the way.
Kimo Ferrari.
I mean, come on.
I mean, the Aztecs looked like. It's crazy to think that there's. I mean, I'm sure Occidental's a really good basketball team for their division and their level, but isn't it crazy to think that there's levels that are so far above that?
Yeah.
That unfortunately for Occidental, they didn't even look like they should be out. I mean, it was such a total mismatch. And it's kind of what I was thinking as I was watching it was, when people say, I wonder if Alabama could beat the Panthers in a football game because Carolina's 0-15 and Alabama's Alabama.
Right.
And it just makes me laugh. I'm like, no, there's no chance.
There's levels to it.
There's totally different levels, and this was like a totally different level thing last night.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I think it really is more about getting these guys more, especially the young guys,
get them some playing time.
especially the young guys more playing time because the once the calendar turns the next week, the opponents
They're going from Occidental to the number 4 team in the nation on Monday in Gonzaga.
Right.
That's going to be a rude awakening if the Aztecs aren't ready for it.
And from that point on, all of their opponents are of that ilk.
They got
They may
Creighton.
not be number 4, but they're going to be all tough opponents.
Creighton is ranked.
Yeah.
Oregon is right there in the rankings. And then their last game in the Las Vegas tournament is undetermined. But it could be like Alabama, who's number 2 in the nation, right? I mean,
And
it's
that-
going to be somebody amazing. Their next 4 games, they're going to be underdog in all 4 games,
No
frankly.
doubt. And it's necessary because that then gets them ready for what
That-
we believe is the toughest, one of the toughest conferences in all of the country. So
the next 4 games, I'm going to learn a lot. But if you're asking me what I learned last night,
not much.
It was hard to, it's really hard to. I mean, they were shooting Wayne McKinney 3, the third, was shooting threes with impunity. I mean, he's just, running around a screen and just rising up. And, nothing to stop him.
He was 3 for 3 from behind the arc in the
At the
first
beginning,
half.
And
First
Guath
5
hit
minutes.
his first 2 threes. Guath, I think, blocked 4 shots in the opening minute of the game. Like, poor Occidental came down. Guy tried to throw one up in the lane.
Block.
Guath was like, no. It's not coming. Not getting through.
I got to wonder, Occidental, they get paid to go there. They get to play a big team.
Yeah.
Is that really that big of a, is that really that good for them?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't know how good it is for them either because it's such a mismatch that I don't see it being great for anybody.
That
but
cash is definitely
the cash is helpful.
Is helpful.
I'm sure it is.
For their program alone, that cash is helpful.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you take your lumps, unfortunately.
And the Aztecs officially go to 2-0. They get a win out of it.
Yeah.
So I guess there's that.
All right, let's step away. When we come back, Padres are on top of the mind. Bryce Miller here to answer those questions. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
right, welcome back. Gwynn and Chris underway for a Wednesday. This hour 97.3 The Fan brought to you by my guys, Buffalo Wild Wings. Head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Try their new maple chipotle sauce, rich maple sweetness, and a mild, smoky chipotle heat. Or, for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce. For a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce, stop by your San Diego B-Dubs. Order now for a takeout or delivery. Buffalo Wild Wings, go. Bryce Miller, San Diego Union Tribune is going to join us shortly. Before we get to that, though, we started the show talking about the huge trucks that were parked next to my car, taking up the entire parking lot today and backing into their spaces and just basically lording over the area as if they owned it. Tony, you got a tweet along these lines.
Came from Get BZ112.
Okay.
At King Leo XXXX. He says, I don't know how long this started, but I despise the backward parkers. The worst is in a crowded parking lot, and the person in front of you passes up a space, and then they flip it into reverse, and you have to back up with cars behind you.
That can happen.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I must say, I consider myself a considerate backwards parker.
You are a backwards parker.
I am definitely a backwards parker. But if there are cars behind me, I will pull into my parking spot normal.
Okay.
And let the cars go by. And
That's nice.
Then go into my reverse mode.
Okay.
Because I do recognize the inconvenience that it can cause if I decide to pull it off.
Yeah.
With cars behind me. Now, however, if I pull into the parking lot and there's no car behind me at first, and then I get into my spiel, yeah, then of course I'm just going to.
I think they have to wait. Then they have to wait.
Yeah.
I think it's harder to back in without cars around you. I'd much rather have the cars with me so that I can have like barriers just so.
Well, no, I'm
back.
not talking about cars in the parking spot. I'm talking about cars waiting to go by.
Tony, what is your strategy for backing in and in an open parking lot and making sure that you are between the lines? Because I honestly am not good enough to do that, which is why I don't attempt it.
Your backwards camera should help.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't use the backwards camera to do it.
Well, it
I
gives
use
you
my
the tire track.
I use my side mirrors, and I
Side mirror.
What a great driver Tony is.
And
Man.
Thanks, Richard Petty.
and I'm constantly looking to see so if I'm pulling in and I'm going, let's say I'm pulling in right. I've got my car swerved to the right. So now I'm looking out of my left mirror. I'm looking for that far line, and I'm trying to get not too close to it because I don't want to be the dude that has my tires on the line. I want to leave some space.
Fair enough.
I truly try to be considerate of the parkers next to me.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Unlike
I believe that. I believe Tony's a considerate
the
parker.
behemoth truck.
And I don't have a behemoth truck either, so that makes it a little bit easier.
No, you have a
I put a
fair-sized
poll on YouTube.
vehicle.
Are you a backwards parker? So if you're watching YouTube, look for this poll. I'm trying these new poll things. And yes, 71%, which is ridiculous.
71R?
It's an easy it's an easy getaway, man. You get in the car, boom, in the drive. You ain't gotta back out.
Who's in that much of a hurry? Relax.
We all are. It's 2024.
But why are you not in a hurry when you arrive to where you'd want to just pull straight in? Well, you gotta back up at some point.
You're either taking the time in or on the way out. I choose to take the time on the way in.
You do.
I think our guest might have some thoughts on this too. I'm not
Bryce
sure.
Miller?
Bryce always has some thoughts.
Bryce Miller's our guy. We appreciate him as always. He joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. How are you, Bryce? Did you park straight in with your car at work today, or did you back in? Or did you have to parallel park? I hope that wasn't the case.
Well, since my office is my couch a lot of times, I didn't have to think about parking. I left the car where it was when I woke up this morning, and I didn't have to make a critical decision like that.
Very good. That's a nice, relaxing day for you, and that is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Bryce, let's talk a little bit about the Padres' options right now. I think, first of all, I would ask, what do you think is not really an option in the sense that things that they absolutely positively have to find a way to get done this offseason? What are your top few?
Oh, I mean, you always need pitching, But, in this situation with Musgrove essentially going to miss the entire regular season in 2025, that kind of accelerates the urgency, I think, a little bit. We're all hearing more and more about Roki Sasaki. The Dodgers have to be favorites for him. You can't operate and plan as if you're going to get a player like that. It's more like you hit the jackpot financially and talent-wise, and in a control sense, if you do end up with him, you've got to find starting pitching. I think it starts there for sure.
Bryce, a few days ago you wrote about the Padres locking up Mike Shildt. I think a few days later it was Ruben Niebla who they locked up. But you wrote in the Union about the relationship between Mike Shildt and A.J. Preller. And, I think for some years now, although there may not have been any, real friction between A.J. and any of his managers, there does seem to be some cohesiveness between him and Mike. And you wrote about the importance of that moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just the language and the tenor of that Zoom call announcing the extension, you didn't hear that with previous managers. And I think your point is well made that doesn't mean there was necessarily friction in those cases, although there certainly was, toward the end at the very least with Bob Melvin. I mean, I think that was pretty obvious the way everything ended between Melvin and Preller and the Padres. But there is a connection.
Yeah.
Preller wanted a guy who could balance the worlds of analytics and kind of old school baseball, find comfort in living in that new world too. Somebody who would, follow the plan, work more hand in hand, not create, basically it gives them a clean and comfortable slate going into next season. One less thing to worry about in the front office and in the clubhouse. And so I think that was an important move. And I think if you were paying attention, you felt the difference in terms of the relationship between those two guys.
Yeah.
Bryce Miller is our guy, San Diego Union Tribune, outstanding columnist, as you know, joining us here on 97.3 The Fan. All right, Bryce, let's say for a moment that ESPN calls and they have you on, and they have you on with a writer from Pittsburgh, and they ask you to go first and make the case for Jackson Merrill to absolutely positively be named the Rookie of the Year. Now, we know the voting's already taken place. You can't sway any voters at this point,
right.
But what would your argument be ahead of the Pittsburgh guy, who I'm sure would probably be arguing the other side?
Well, I mean, you start with him being an everyday player, Jackson Merrill.
Yeah.
I mean, he impacts the team every day, and he does it in multiple ways. Paul Skeens is incredible, and in almost any given year, he'd be a very worthy recipient, and maybe he still will end up winning that award this year. But Merrill impacts a team at the plate with his defense, with his arm, the energy he brings day after day that Paul Skeens can't, because he's on the mound every fifth day. But you go there and look, if you want to shift over and say, okay, let's take the names off the jerseys and let's dive into numbers or analytics or find some disconnect from the emotion of it or biases related to who you think should win that award. Jackson Merrill has the best F-WAR of those two players. Jackson Merrill, it wouldn't have been a factor, but he just won a Silver Slugger award, which showed his impact offensively, something that Paul Skeens can't offer. So I just think I remember I did something with Fred Lynn, the old All-Star and AL Rookie of the Year, MVP, lives in North County, and he didn't hesitate. I asked him about that, and he goes, it's an everyday player. It's every single day this guy is influencing the outcome of games, helping your team, and a pitcher every fifth day can't do that.
Yeah. All of us every day players stick together. You're never gonna let that one go. Look,
I'm a pitcher, and I'm still sticking up with you guys on this one.
Bryce Miller joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. And Bryce, I wonder, going into the offseason last year, however it came to light, it definitely came to light that the Padres were looking to cut cost. This offseason, that information hasn't really leaked out in the way that it did last year. Well, why do you think that is? And do you think the Padres could perhaps add a little salary or a little money to the books this year?
Well, I think it hasn't come out because I'm not sure. I think it's probably still a bit of work in progress. Last year it was more cut and dried because you had to reduce payroll to get under the penalty threshold, which was increasing and intensifies the more years you're over one of those thresholds on the competitive balance tax, basically their version of the luxury tax. And so they had to reset that clock, and they were committed to doing that. And then once they did that, they moved forward. That was such a bedrock part of the plan at the beginning that they knew where they were at. But right now, there's some unknowns. I mean, who are you going to lose in free agency? I mean, it looks like unless they bring him back, you may have a little flexibility with the money you would have paid Ha-Seong Kim. But at the same time, arbitration eligible players who are getting paid more in the upcoming season than they were this year, that payroll is naturally going to increase from last year. So even though I think they have some flexibility to consider some moves, I think it'll have to be fairly restrained. I think it's still something that number is a little bit fluid depending on the situation with multiple players. And so I think they're working through that, and they may not have that completely targeted and zeroed in because there's still dollars that could fluctuate.
Bryce, what do you say to Padre fans in general who are disappointed, rightly so, that they didn't get it done this year? I'm trying to remind people that this is one of the glory stretches of the history of Padre baseball. There haven't been many stretches where the team's been relevant for 5-6 years in a row. Figure to be relevant moving forward. I mean, can we appease everybody or at least calm everybody's nerves with the notion that they should be right back there at the end next year with a similar opportunity?
You would certainly think they're in position to do that. I mean, cap tip to A.J. Preller's creativity this year, what he did, and not just who he got, but who he got early with Dylan Cease and Luis Ariz and everything they were able to do. The trade that, when Juan Soto left, the sky is falling for a hot minute, and then all of a sudden you go, I can see Michael King pitching here for a long time. And, and they got more arms out of that. And Kyle Higashioka, I was looking up today, free agents, position by position, and of the free agent catchers, he has the highest WAR. So his impact, he had a really hot stretch where he showed a lot of power. But over the course of the whole year, very solid at a position the Padres have really struggled to find talent at in the last, 4, 5, 6 years. So, and to your point, second most wins in regular season history. You're essentially 3 outs away from your second NLCS in 3 years. You pushed the Dodgers farther than anyone else in baseball did with that lineup and a bullpen that was incredible at exactly the right time. Depending what this offseason looks like and, how they fill out the rest of that rotation and creativity and what do they do at shortstop. And there are questions, there always are, but yeah, you feel like they're positioned to compete year in, year out here for a stretch.
Bryce, you bring up the shortstop position, and if all things are true, at least from the standpoint of what we've read, Ha-Seong Kim may very well not be in a Padre uniform. You mentioned Sasaki at the beginning of the conversation and the Dodgers being the favorite. Certainly, it seems to be, from what we've read, a relationship between Sasaki and Yu Darvish. The Padres,
Yeah.
that's from a price standpoint, that's clearly the spot that seems like could be a fit for the Padres. But at the shortstop position, they got a bunch of guys who are already in-house that have played the position. How do you see that position in particular shaking out? And do you think that the Dodgers should be the favorite, given kind of the connections with you, Darvish and Sasaki?
Yeah, I guess on the shortstop, position first, I just think it's funny that for a team just loaded with shortstop, there's still shortstop. A year ago we're going, is everyone out here on the field a shortstop?
Yeah.
And essentially, the thing I think about, I've heard some people say, Jackson Merrill's so young, so versatile. You could move him back to the infield. You could put Bogarts at second if you had to. Maybe Jake's at first. We don't know what's happening with DH. There's a lot of interconnected questions, but I don't like moving players out of position where they really shine. So,
right.
And center field's a premium defensive position. So is shortstop, but center field is the most important position in the outfield. And you found a guy that just not only succeeded there, he thrived. And Fernando Tatis Jr. There's another guy who played shortstop, but he's a platinum glove right fielder. He's got, arguably, if not the best, one of the best arms in baseball from the outfield. And his speed, so the speed you have in center field and right field now to cover ground is one of the very best in baseball. And I don't know if you mess with that, even if you're talking about shortstop. So maybe you start Bogarts there, but that will be one of the questions of the spring. I know A.J. Preller had told Kevin Acee on our staff that they want to decide that sooner, get locked in, so Xander Bogaerts isn't guessing, where he's at tomorrow, which makes sense. But yeah, that's a big question going into the season. As far as Sasaki, I wrote a notes column that'll run tomorrow. But one of the things I brought up, even though the Dodgers have to be a big favorite, I mean, the Japanese following in Dodger baseball is unmatched. And Shohei Ohtani accelerated that, amplified that, when he came. And then you got Yamamoto, and that's a factor. And they just won a World Series, and they've got to be a favorite to win more than one in this stretch where Ohtani's there. So that's a pretty big carrot. But in the notes thing, I wrote that one of the things besides the relationship with Darvish and them playing together at the World Baseball Classic, I remember talking to Preller when they signed Soto in 2022, and he told the story about where he memorized the speech in Japanese. It was like 6.5 minutes. and he said that to Ohtani.
Oh yeah.
And they were close to getting Ohtani. At least it sounds like he thought about it, even though at that point the National League didn't have a DH. I mean, he wasn't a fit for San Diego at that point, but just that detail, that thinking. And I remember Preller's quote, so I included it tomorrow. It's online now, but basically saying they know those details matter.
Yeah.
So they will do something that will catch Roki Sasaki's attention. Whether it's enough, we'll find out.
That's always enough having you on the show, Bryce. We appreciate great insight as always. Continued good luck. Enjoy the holiday season coming up, and we'll catch up with you soon, sir.
Okay, park carefully.
Thanks, Bryce.
Thank you, sir. Bryce Miller, always good with a quip from the San Diego Union Tribune. I think he hits it on the head with the Sasaki. I mean,
yeah.
The Dodgers have the name. Whoever else has this and that. AJ's not going to leave a stone unturned, though.
You already
if he
know
wants
that.
him, he's gonna try every angle he can try, and he's got some bullets to fire. Right?
In AJ, we should trust because he does. He's not going to leave that detail that Bryce is speaking of. He's not going to leave that unchecked.
All right, 1 hour in. Good show. Still coming up after a crazy good first hour. More Gwynn and Chris. Daily Gambit starts hour number 2.
Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Sello, Matt Gravy, kicking it with you on this Wednesday afternoon, 3:01 on the clock. We've got Daily Gambit coming up. See how our bets went yesterday, as we had quite a few games on the slate. They weren't, necessarily the greatest games on the slate.
We had one of the biggest surprises in NBA recent history last night, as far as the spreads.
Are you trying to
he's not
steal my bird effect?
Wait a minute. That was good bird effect.
I would say I stole.
He
your
is
bird
now
effect
the
right
hawk
there.
guy.
No, the hawk goes,
What's yours?
as it comes down from the sky.
I don't see that one.
I'm trying to do a bird effect. I can't. That threw me for a loop.
Tony's
bird
right
effect
on
was too
point
good.
with that.
I'm
I
sorry.
think Tony's on point
I'm
here.
sorry I surprised you like that, Square. I wasn't intentionally trying to do that. It was just.
Did you see my
I was in the
face?
moment. I was in the moment right there.
I looked at Chris like, did I just get unseated?
Yes. You've been unseated.
We'll get to the details of that game here shortly, but before we get into it, just thought we should mention it. Greg Popovich, who's missed quite a few times since November 2nd, it was finally announced today that he suffered a mild stroke during his medical, I think they were calling it a medical incident, up until today. And so he's been away from the team, had a mild stroke. He's missed the last 6 games. And as I said, what the team originally called an undisclosed medical episode.
I can understand why they did.
For sure. For
You
sure.
know, we don't have to know this information. I mean, I think it's nice to know it in the sense that we can pass along our best wishes to Pops and hope that he makes a full recovery here. And, you got to assume that he will. But those are scary.
No doubt.
That's scary.
In the statement the Spurs released today, it said Popovich, who has already started a rehabilitation program, is expected to make a full recovery. At this point, a timeline for his return to the sidelines has not been determined. During the time, the organization is grateful to the extended community for providing privacy and space for the Popovich family. This happened at the team facility. Popovich, who is 75, is the oldest coach in the NBA and passed the previous oldest coach in the NBA, which was Hubie Brown. He was 71.
Hubie was the all-time record holder.
Yeah, after
right?
his 71st birthday, he was the oldest coach until Popovich
Pops now
has now taken
Pops
that
is
throne.
getting, it's slow. It's molasses if you're a Spurs fan. Remember, they won a bunch of championships way back in the day with Pops, but remember how awful they were last year. They're 5-6 this year. They're showing signs of starting to improve.
They do have
which
a
is not a
unicorn
surprise.
playing basketball.
And
so.
they do have that going for them.
All right.
Didn't he just win a championship? When was that with Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs?
It's been over 10 years.
Yeah, 13, 14, 13.
What?
Yeah,
I gotta look at this.
20, because LeBron was still on the Spurs, or excuse me, still on the
Cavs?
Heat
Oh, the Heat.
when I think the Spurs last won a title.
I'm looking at the winners. The Spurs.
2014 was the last
I
one.
just got there.
10 years
10
ago.
years. Wow.
Goes fast that time.
Okay.
Did Pops coach every one of those? All
yes,
5
Yes.
NBA
he got
titles?
the first one with Tim Duncan when 90, 99. Yeah, and then he's gotten all of them.
Then 2003, then 2005, then 2007,
Yeah.
then 13, 14.
Yeah. They finally went on an even numbered year. 14.
All right, let's get to some Daily Gambit.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. I saw a tweet, and I cannot find it, but I thought there was one of those things where the guy picked the 5 major champions in sports, like the college football champion, and then NFL, NBA, NHL. And he picked... Oh, gosh.
Got him all right? Or missed
No,
one?
no, he has one that's terrible in the buyout. It would have won him $1 million. I might look for this a little because I need to.
It's always
explain
good
this
to bring up
correctly.
stories when you don't really know.
I
the
thought I
story.
remembered it correctly, and I didn't. So as soon as I went into it, I had that little thing in the back of my head saying eject. All right. Portland State -1.5 over USD, the Toreros.
Come on, Toreros.
Tony and I picked Portland State.
Jeez.
Portland State won 85-76.
Protect your home court, will ya? Toreros.
Sac State at UCSD. UCSD 12.5-point favorites. All three of us took UCSD. All three of us were wrong. UCSD did win, but they only won by 10, 64-54.
Good teams win, great teams cover. UCSD.
Okay, Nate on the chat, help me. He picked the Jets as the NFL Super Bowl champion. He would have won $1 million.
He's got it all except for that.
Except for the Jets. But the buyout, you know how you can get out of it early? Instead of like $500,000, it's like $900 because the Jets are so
So
bad.
it shouldn't even be $900. You give him $5, give him his money back.
Yes, so
The Jets.
Yeah, so he's gonna let it ride, hoping the Jets win the Super Bowl. Everybody.
Yeah, all right.
Kansas and Michigan State last night. Kansas 6.5-point favorites, and Chris chose Michigan State. Kansas did win 77-69. So
As I said yesterday, it came down to a who cares but the betters 3-point shot at the buzzer, and Michigan State missed it. They would have lost by 5 had it gone in.
This next game was good.
Next game was Duke and Kentucky. Lamont Butler. I watched a lot of Lamont Butler last night. He's looking good.
9 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, something like
he was
that.
pretty active.
Nice game.
Played 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
Duke was a 5.5-point favorite in this one, and Chris was the only one that picked Tucky. Tucky ended up winning this game outright, 77-72. In the Big Five, I have a question about the Duke team and their hydration.
How about that? The coach is not happy about it either.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
We'll talk
later.
about it a little bit later, but I don't know if you remember, what's the kid's name from Orlando that came from Duke? Really good.
Boncaro.
Boncaro. Remember his freshman year, he was having those same hydration crampy problems. I don't know if it's a
You
Duke
should have
thing.
no hydration problems with the program that Duke has.
But that was a really good game. Cooper Flagg, the freshman we talked about yesterday, at 26 and 12.
Yeah.
I think he ended up having a big turnover late in that game, though, that helped Kentucky seal it. But
You're a fan of the flag.
I am a fan, man. He can play, and it's like it's almost along the same line as a Celtic. Giving a Celtic credit here with Duke, but this guy can play. He can absolutely hoop.
All right.
Next one, USC women were taking on Cal State Northridge. USC women were favored by 53.5 points, everybody. You guys chose CSUN. I chose USC. USC demolished CSUN.
They won by 85 points. They almost won by 100 points.
39.
It's not often that Vegas is that far off when they give that kind of spread.
I mean,
83?
They scored like 7 points a quarter until the fourth when they were able to put up 18.
That's like
crazy.
That's like a boys' high school game.
It was such
right
a
there.
bad spread that I actually need a calculator to. No, 75 points.
75.
75-point spread. Come on.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's bad.
Milwaukee Bucks minus 8.5.
Wait, what was a 75-point spread?
USC
they
won the
won
game
by
by 75.
Yeah.
That was the final score. They won by.
The spread was
75.
53.
I was about to say, I see 53. All right, I got you. Go ahead.
We needed 75.
I forget who the Bucks were playing last night, but
Toronto.
They were minus 8.5 on the spread. All of us chose the Bucks, and the Bucks won by 14, 99-85. Now here is the upset that Tony made such a good Hawk sound for. The Celtics were 16-point
ought to,
favorites.
hire him to do their
Can you do it again?
commercials.
Can you do it again?
It was incredible.
Oh my God!
Sorry, that
Dude,
kinda-
my
that was-
ears
that was
are
strong
bleeding
right there.
now.
Feels like there's an actual bird in the studio.
Boston, 16-point favorites. Chris and I chose the Celtics. Tony chose Atlanta. The Hawks went outright, 117-116.
They were down 15. I got one quick NBA story before we finish up with the NHL. Did you see what happened at the end of the Pistons' victory over the Miami Heat last night?
Yes, it's in the Big Five.
All right.
Can't talk about that.
You can mention it, but we have. We'll talk about it
Well,
further
okay,
later.
we'll talk about it further. But Eric Spoelstra made one of the all-time great coaching guffaws.
Yes, he did.
Jalen
in that
Rose was
game.
beside himself.
Yeah, it was bad.
At
least he
I don't
said-
want to talk about it anymore.
We'll talk
You,
about it more.
you can say what happened. We'll just talk about
I
it in more
appreciate
detail.
that it didn't take 2 days. It didn't take
He
a
just
week.
came right
He
out.
just came
Yeah.
right out, owned it.
Yeah, we'll hear his
We'll
apology.
talk about it. Okay. Go ahead, one more.
Final one, Winnipeg Jets, 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 minus 1.5 on the puck line. You guys chose Jets. I chose the Rangers. I was dumb because the Jets won 6-3.
The Jets are the first NHL team ever to start a season 15-1.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So we'll.
I read that.
Keep a little eye on the Manitoba-based hockey team.
Have you watched them play at all?
No. Well, it's not my fault. I mean,
you can't
they
get a
never
Winnipeg
put,
game.
They never
Yeah.
put Winnipeg on TV. I don't care how many games they win. They still put the Rangers and
Right.
Boston
Right.
and the regular teams on. So I don't think I've even had a Winnipeg game to watch. They must be good. They got that record.
Come on, Winnipeg.
15-1, very good. All right. We got to do tonight's. Oh man, we're late.
It's not new.
I know.
Chat, look at Scraby's face too. I wish I'd have caught it earlier when it was more.
He looks like my face when I pulled next to those two big trucks today. Same disgust. San Francisco USF -15 against Cal State Long Beach tonight. I'm going with my guy Bobby Smitherin and Cal State Long Beach. Bobby used to work at SDSU. He's now the athletic director at
Long Beach State. Yeah.
So I'll take him plus the 15 against your Don Scraby. Tony, who do you want?
Give me Bobby's
Going
school
with Bobby
as well.
also. Okay.
Is Bobby part of the Harry Potter universe?
No, Scraby, he's not.
Slytherin?
Smitherin is his last name. Smitherin.
Close enough.
Scraby, you're going with USF, I assume?
Yes, I am.
UConn, the defending national champions. We talk about crazy games. Gave the Aztecs a bit of a hard time for playing Occidental. UConn is two-time defending champs. Tonight they're playing Lemoyne College. I mean, come on.
That's not even
Lemoyne.
directional. It's just a made-up name at this point.
Lemoyne College. I think it's, 5 guys off the street that they're going to invite into the gym.
How do you spell it?
L-E, capital M-O-Y-N-E.
Okay.
Lemoyne.
They're
Is
a
it real?
Jesuit college in New York from Syracuse. They are the Bobcats, or
Okay.
I think.
Bobcats are getting 38 points here, Tony. Who you going with?
Yeah, UConn's going to demolish these guys.
That could be bad. Scrape, who do you like?
UConn.
Lemoyne?
How much are they favored by?
Only 38.
Is Lemoyne College very good?
I would almost think they have to be good to only be underdog by 38.
Wait, Lemoyne College has a mascot that's a dolphin, but they're not the Dolphins.
What are they?
I can't tell you.
All right, way too much information about
How
Lemoyne
how about your
College.
bet?
UConn.
We're all taking UConn. Knicks 7.5 over the Bulls. NBA Cup action continues tonight. Scraby,
Knicks 7.5. The Bulls are terrible, so I'm gonna go Knicks.
New York Knickerbockers. Bulls are terrible.
Where
but
we're
I'll-
at?
It's at New York. But I'll take the Bulls. The Bulls have actually been better on the road.
Yeah, give me the Bulls too.
Bulls on the road. NBA Cup action. Memphis at Lakers. 231.5 points. No, I don't like that one. Let's scratch that one. I like this one better. In that game, Scottie Pippen Jr. 12.5 points. Over under. Former Laker, now with Memphis.
Oh, it's going over. He's getting back at his former team.
Tony says over for Scottie Pippen Jr. Scrape? Pippen Jr.
I don't know anything about him.
Well,
I'm gonna
he's
go
Scottie
under.
Pippen's son.
I'm gonna go
I
under.
know that much. I'm going to go over with Tony. Cleveland -11 at Philadelphia. Cavs are 12-0. Sixers will be without Joel Embiid and Paul George.
Yes, they will.
Well, Joel Embiid showed up for one game last
did.
night.
Yeah.
Now he's back on the shelf. So is Paul George. Scraby, -11. It's at Philadelphia, if that means anything.
It doesn't. I'm gonna go
Cleveland.
With the
To
Cleveland
blow
Rocks.
them out 13-0.
You said Embiid's out and Paul George?
Yeah, I'll take Cleveland.
Give me Cleveland. They will
Cleveland,
remain
Cleveland,
undefeated.
Cleveland. One winless team in college football. They're in action tonight. The Kent State Golden Flashes at Miami of Ohio. 30.5 point spread. I'm going to not fall for the banana in the tailpipe. I'm going to go Miami, Ohio here. Although the last time we did this, the winless team won the game outright.
Is this Maction?
It's Maction, baby.
baby.
On a Wednesday
State
night.
is 30 points better.
No,
They're
Miami's favored. Kent State's winless. Miami by 30.5.
I was looking at it. Confirmed that the Lemoyne College is the Dolphins.
Oh, they are the Dolphins.
Thank you for
I
confirming.
don't know why
buddy.
a school in the middle of New York State
Scrub, you wanna give
is
your,
a Dolphin.
You giving your bet already?
For somebody who wants to get out on time, you sure are messing around
Talking about
all over the place
Lemoyne
over there.
Dolphins.
I'm gonna go Miami of Ohio.
Miami. Tony?
You said Kent State is winless?
They're winless.
Yeah, go ahead and give me
Nobody's
Miami
taking the
of
winless
Ohio.
Golden Flashes. One NHL bet tonight. Kings are at Colorado.
Come on, Kings.
That's not your bet. Ducks are at home versus Vegas. Who scores more goals tonight, Kings or Ducks? Chris, I'm going to say in honor of my friend Baja Rick out there. You know Baja Rick.
Yeah,
Met
Baja
him
Rick's
at the,
Cantina.
yeah. I believe he's a big Ducks fan. I'll go Ducks in his honor. Tony?
As I said, come on, Kings.
Kings, all right. Scraby, who scores more tonight?
I mean, aren't the Ducks really bad?
They're better.
I'm going to go Kings.
Kings are probably a better team.
All
Okay.
right.
There you go. Scrape. We
Bada
didn't
bing.
do too bad. 317.
It's the same time. No, it's actually 318.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Now it's 318.
Let's
Be
get
accurate.
to break. Here's some traffic on the other side.
From the 97.3.
Jr., Matt Scraby. Scraby's got the Chronicles after our show tonight at 6. After his show at 7, Sam Levitt inside San Diego baseball. Big day here on
The hater.
San Diego's number one
talking to me or
sports talk
Sam?
station.
Huh?
You talking to me or Sam?
I was talking to you. Sam, you're not a hater. Scraby's a hater, though.
Yeah, there's no reason to pile on.
Yeah, you don't need to keep going.
No pile on. Yeah. I watched a game last night that I really liked, and I don't always like a regular season NBA game. Dallas, Golden State. Tuned in a little bit
game
to see Klay Thompson play against the Warriors. He hit 6 threes, and everybody in San Francisco and the arena and Oracle, whatever they still play Oracle, Scrape?
Yes.
They're going crazy. Dallas has a 9-point lead with about 2.5 minutes to go in the game, maybe 3. And then
Steph Curry happened.
And I'm telling you, I don't know how many more times we're going to get to see this. So I wanted to I really did appreciate it. Tony, he scored 10 points in 2 minutes. It was his own personal 10-0 run. He hit 2 threes and 2 driving, twisting layups over a center's outstretched arm. And after the final 3, he ran down the court and put the Mavericks to bed.
He went night-night.
Look, you got to enjoy that kind of stuff. I guess if you're not a Maverick fan, you wouldn't. But greatness is still one of my favorite things about sports, and we don't see it often. And I think we overrate it, too. We go, oh, that's great. That guy's great. That player's great. That team's great. They always aren't great. But Steph Curry is, and I don't know how many more times we'll see him do what he did last night, Tony. Just took over the game, put him to sleep. I enjoyed that. I mean, this guy, I'm no Warrior fan, but you got to love watching him when plus the threes he made. Step back, 3-pointers, right over a guy guarding him. Not like he was wide open. So that was cool.
We often, I think, because everything is like at fingertip all the time, we do often throw everybody into the same category of great. But what you're watching with Steph Curry is truly something that when he is retired, you probably won't see at that magnitude.
No. You'll see a guy make some 3-point shots,
sure,
but you're not going to see a guy do what he does and do it almost every time.
Yeah, it is remarkable. That game, I mean, there obviously the storyline, Klay Thompson coming back first time.
Yeah.
This show you the type of dude Klay Thompson is. When he arrived, you know who was waiting for him? The employees of Oracle.
Wow, that's
Arena.
Cool.
They were down in the tunnel waiting for Klay Thompson. That's how well liked
he was
in that organization. Not his former teammates, employees there.
He left the legacy
clearly.
there.
But that game was again. We see this in regular season games, and we look back on it last year and we laughed at it, right? Because the cup, Lakers won, ha ha ha, they hung a banner. But what we forgot is, for a nice period of time during the regular season, you got a bunch of those type of games throughout the entire NBA Cup. And
game looked like it mattered to these guys last night, not just a typical November game.
Right, and that's what started to draw people to the Cup, was that these guys are playing as if it's the playoffs right now, and you're getting it in mid-November.
I don't want to burst your bubble, Tony, because I know you love the Cup, but I did not tune in because of the Cup. I tuned in because of the floor. I wanted to see what the floor looked like, and I'm realizing that all the floors look similar this year, or at least so far what I've seen.
They looked similar last year.
Okay.
They just were different colors of the similar.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
but
I wanted to see Curry, and I wanted to see Klay Thompson, and they both delivered last night.
It doesn't matter why you tuned in. The fact that you tuned in and then stayed with it is all the NBA actually wants.
All right. Can I also say that Kevin Harlan is not the only broadcaster in this country? But he's one of the best, and he's on every game.
Yeah.
I mean, Sunday, there he is, NFL. Monday, he's the radio voice of Monday Night Football. Tuesday, he's doing the Warrior game up with Reggie Miller.
Who are we talking about?
Kevin Harlan.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible, this guy's work ethic.
I was about to say, no one
I don't know how much
ever accuse Kevin of not working enough.
I mean,
this dude is everywhere.
That is true.
The guy has to be on a plane studying his boards for the next game every night of his life.
And by the way, it brings up another good point. We often, criticize guys for having so many hats. Listen, Kevin Harlan's getting up in age. They're not going to allow him to do this forever. So it's wise of him to have his hands in a bunch of different buckets right now while he can. It's still young enough to do it.
We actually, the show I was on interviewed Kevin Harlan years and years and years ago, and they asked him that very same question. How do you keep everything straight going from city to city, sport to sport? And he said, I just continue to study. As I'm in the car right now, right before he called you guys, I was looking at all the players on the team, and he just continues to study. I also would like to add this. The chat is very upset with you guys for being the bearers of misinformation. It's no longer Oracle. It was never Oracle, actually.
I just asked you when you said yes.
The one that said yes.
Thank you.
Said
Thank
it was
you,
me.
Tony.
It was me. It was me.
Chase Center.
Oh.
Like-
What do you mean it was never
Oracle is the Giants, is the
Exactly.
baseball
But we
team.
made such a huge mistake.
Sorry, guys.
That is huge.
Well, actually,
that
I
is
did not make that
unforgivable.
mistake. I just want to take myself out of that.
That was me.
That's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. We should know the commercial sponsor of every stadium and arena in the country. Come on.
What is it called again?
I'm Chase Center. I'm
Chase Center.
fighting with them because they're like
Chase Center. Forgive me, everybody.
Calm down, everybody.
It says they
Scrape.
watch the NBA.
Scrape.
They need to. I'm just fighting with people in the
Scraby
chat
on here
today.
dry snitching on you guys in the chat right now, and he's right.
What's the other argument? That we watch the NBA and what?
So we should know the names of the arenas, basically, is what he's
I
getting.
agree.
Whatever. All right. What is the name of the Cleveland Cavaliers arena?
Quicken Loans.
Oh, look at you, boy!
Boom.
Boston,
TD Garden.
Orlando.
Amway.
Dude, I think you're right on that.
Boom. Boom.
Wait,
boom.
can I ask you a question?
What?
You hate the NBA. How do you know the freaking arenas?
I know weird stuff.
This guy knows all the arenas.
I know
Orlando
weird
Magic
stuff.
Arena, the Kia Center.
Okay,
Nice
Chad,
try.
it used to be Amway.
Well,
It
you know
changed.
what? San Francisco used to have an Oracle Arena too. So, let's
No, it
relax
didn't.
out there.
It never did. Oakland did.
Dallas.
All right.
Ooh,
The
gosh,
Warriors
American
used
Airlines.
to. The Warriors used to play at Oracle Arena. I apologize for not having it.
It wasn't you.
updated
It wasn't
for
you. It was me. I'm the one that
Well,
co-signed it.
These people are crazy out there. Did you know you can listen to this station though? Get all this correct information on 97.3 The Fan with your smart speaker. Ask your device to play 97.3 The Fan. Give that a shot. In the meantime, when we come back, don't go anywhere. Brand new segment. We've never tried it before. Could be a disaster. Could be the start of something big. More Gwynn and Chris coming up.
freezing as his temperature rises.
I'm calm.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you've been able to bring yourself to center.
I wish my emotions were similar from a day-to-day perspective because
They're not similar on a day-to-day perspective.
sometimes I can let things roll off my back. Sometimes I get angry by things.
Yeah,
and today is one of those days.
I don't think you're out of line complaining about people in the chat who think we should know the commercial sponsor of every arena and stadium in America.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's just not that important. Relax. Relax out there. Not only did you know them, they change twice a year. Most everybody's stadium.
What is the Staples Center now called?
I still don't know. I still call it the Staples Center.
I know.
'Cause nobody knows what you mean when you say the other one.
You can double check me on crypto, but I'm pretty sure it's
Crypto.com.
crypto.com. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I only had partial credit then because I said
But I am
crypto.
calm now.
Good to know.
People need to relax. Sit back, enjoy the show. If you want to listen and pick apart every other word,
I do think people
please.
I do think people get a little bit more amped
Please.
into it because you berate me with the bearer of misinformation all the time. So
Sometimes the berating is
that
necessary.
when you make a mistake, people like to jump on you for it, which I'm all for.
But the thing was, Chris didn't make the mistake. I made the mistake.
Well, he goes, "What is it? The Oracle Arena?" And you're like, "Yeah." And then Chris was like, "Good."
That's still my mistake. I don't know what he was asking, isn't he? And I said yes. I could have said no. Nonetheless, we digress. We do have a new segment that we are flushing, if you will, today. Not flushing in a bad
gonna
way.
say.
Flushing out, I should say, as we try to figure out the best ways to do it. But what are we calling it again?
Counterpoint.
Counterpoint.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. Got a couple things going on here, guys. One of them is this crash involving several vehicles on the El Cajon Boulevard on-ramp to eastbound 8. And Cordell traffic cam shows a two-vehicle accident northbound 5 near Carmel Valley. It's over to the right shoulder. Stop by into the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car. It usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right. With any new segment for us, we do not have an open for it, so we're going to go right into a point counterpoint. And
it's called a cold open.
A cold open.
Unless somebody on the chat wants to correct me.
Well, Chris, I think it's actually a lukewarm open.
Yeah, no kidding.
Do you want to explain it, Chris?
I guess I'll try. Point counterpoint. We're going to pick a topic, and Tony and I are going to definitely disagree. And I think in this particular topic that we've chosen today, Tony's going to go first. He's going to give you his point, and then I'm going to give you the counterpoint. And I don't really know. Is everybody going to vote at the end to see who wins?
Oh, I can put up a poll,
Yeah, you can
actually.
do a poll, but this should just be a free-flowing debate here.
A free-flowing debate.
Free flow.
Easy for
I
you
am
to
not.
say.
I am the debate moderator.
Yes. So, Scraby, how will you introduce the topic?
Did we read?
No,
Spiros?
we did not read Spiro.
I can do that.
No. You don't need to do it. I'm on it. If you love Mediterranean food, try Spiros for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit SpiroCuisine.com.
All right, here is our prompt. And Tony, you're up first. I need to get my debate music.
There's the debate music.
I'm looking for that all day.
Gentlemen, the debate has started.
You want to introduce the debaters?
To my right, we have someone who knows no names of arenas around the country.
True that.
Chris Ello. To my left, we have Tony Gwynn Jr., who does not remember names at all. He thought Jeff Goff was Jared Goff.
That was for at least like a
for a
full
long
year,
time.
too.
Now that the introductions are done, here is the prompt. Right now, there are 5 teams in the SEC with 2 losses. As of right now, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama are in danger of missing the college football playoff. Mr. Gwynn?
Yes, sir.
Is this what is best for the sport?
I believe it is indeed best for the sport. What we see right now. As it sets up, Mr. Ello.
Yes.
3 of the SEC teams have 2 losses. They rank 10th, 11th, and 12th right now in the rankings. So I'm sure there's a lot of upset people as they look ahead, and those upset people probably all were SEC fans. They look and see Penn State at 4, and they're like, what? They see a team like Miami ahead of them, or more importantly, a team like Notre Dame, or how about Indiana, a team that certainly hasn't been a team that's been at this level for a long time. I say them's are the breaks, and here's why. Those teams that we mentioned, Penn State has 1 loss. Indiana doesn't have any at this point. And so if you have 2 losses, I get that you play in a tough conference and you have played some, especially if you're Georgia, you've played some tough opponents, but you have not played that well. I point to Georgia in particular. Your quarterback is throwing interceptions at quite a high rate. So my point is, if you're going to complain about where you are, and not to say that the 3 teams are the ones doing the complaining, however, you've got 2 losses. You're the only 3 teams with 2 losses in the top 12. Play better. That should get you at least in the direction that you want to be in, which is into that playoff.
Your time is up, Mr. Gwynn. Thank you for that. Mr. Ello, right now there are 5 teams in the SEC with 2 losses. Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama are in danger of missing the college football playoff. Mr. Ello, is this what is best for the sport?
Absolutely not. It's terrible for the sport. What the college football playoff should be designed for is now to get the best 12 teams that you can possibly get in the playoff. And I don't think there's anybody out there that can tell me that Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama aren't 3 of the top 12 teams, despite having 2 losses. Consider the fact that Georgia lost to the other 2 teams in this discussion, Ole Miss and Alabama. Also consider this. The SEC is so good that Alabama's already played 4 teams in the AP top 10. Indiana's played 0. Oregon, Ohio State, and Purdue have played 2. Alabama's played 4. And those are ranked teams, not in the top 10. So they have a much more difficult slate. And right now, obviously everybody who wins their conference automatically gets a berth. Now, the question is after that, who are the other 8 teams going to be? And one of them is going to go to Boise State, most likely because they've decided to include the Power 5 conferences. But when you're choosing the other 7, be careful when you choose Penn State. Be careful when you choose even Indiana. I will just ask it this way. If Indiana and Georgia were to meet on a neutral field tomorrow, which team would be a 2-touchdown favorite? It ain't Indiana. That's telling you right there that Georgia's a better squad. The college football playoff should be to get the best squads in. And even though I hate to admit it because I can't stand the SEC.
You're giving away your position.
I'm sorry I'm giving away. I'm not a great politician, but I'm going to tell you that as I hate them, they are the better teams. And that is just what we have to deal with.
I was definitely going to have some quips I was going to throw in there, but I was trying to keep your cover in terms of what you're arguing. But since you've blown it, I will say this, to your point. You said that no one would argue that those 3 SEC teams, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Georgia, aren't in 3 of the best 12 teams. Well, the committee agrees. They are. Right now they're 10th, 11th, and 12th. And they're the only 3 teams with 2 losses in the 12. So I will also say this. They still have set it up in a way that even with 1 more loss, those teams could still find their way into the playoff. And I say that because even with 2 losses, they still have not dropped out of the top 12. And they shouldn't. I think they are 3 of the top 12 teams. However, it doesn't go over my head that they are still in a position, what is this, 10 weeks in?
About 10 weeks.
About 10 weeks in, that even with a 3rd loss, not all 3 of them could get in with a 3rd loss, but at least one of these at least one, could still get in even with a 3rd loss because they're in the SEC. And the way that conference lines up, you mentioned it, they aren't the only teams with 2 losses in the SEC. Everybody has at least one.
Yeah.
And there's a very likely chance that Tennessee's going to go down this week because they play one of the big 3, I believe.
They play
Thank
Georgia.
you, Mr.
They
Gwynn.
play
Mr.
Georgia.
Ello, let me say that we have a poll up right now on YouTube for who's winning the debate. I'm not going to reveal the results right now. The debate has not concluded yet. So, Mr. Ello, what are your retorts to Mr. Gwynn's comments?
I have no retorts directly to Mr. Gwynn's comments. Only to say
Not good at
this.
this debate thing.
He talked about Georgia probably going to beat Tennessee this week. Also, later in the season, Texas A&M plays Texas. Now, Tennessee, A&M, and Texas, those 3 all have 1 loss. Tennessee loses to Georgia, that'll give them 2. And then the loser of the A&M Texas game would also have 2. I want to point out ahead of time here that it is very possible, even probable, that the SEC regular season will finish with, say, Texas or Tennessee, or Texas or A&M on top with 1 loss, and then 8 teams behind them with 2 losses. How in the world they're going to figure out the tiebreaker for that is anybody's guess. But the SEC is insanely the best conference. I hate the fact that the college football playoff can potentially be like an SEC playoff, but you're wasting my time with BYU. You're wasting my time with Penn State. And you're probably wasting my time with Indiana, even though I think they're a fun story. I just don't think any of those teams can hold a candle to any of the teams in the SEC, and that's why they should be in the playoff.
Thank you, Mr. Ello. Mr. Gwynn?
Giving him another chance?
This is it. This is the closing statement for this one.
I'll end this with this closing statement. We started this conversation off with, is this best for college football? The one thing that we had prior to the playoff was that it's always the SEC teams that have a chance to win a national title. Well, this is what it looks like, at least for now, because I have a strange feeling they're going to tilt it back that way when they can.
Yeah.
This is the best way to get the most teams involved. And the crazy part is, as Chris just made the point, the SEC still has the most teams and probably will have the most teams when this thing is all said and done. I like it. I know it looks crazy right now. I think it's also important to remember there is still plenty of season left for this to kind of all sort itself out. But I like at least what we've seen so far from the committee.
I'll finish with this. Even though I enjoy the world of SMU, and I enjoy the world of Indiana and
You sound so convincing.
I don't enjoy BYU. Here's the thing. If you put 8 SEC teams up against these other 8 teams, like BYU, SMU, Clemson, Miami, whoever you want to, Army, Boise State, whoever you want to use it's in the running, and put those 8 against 8 SEC teams, I think the playoff could end up being all 8 SEC teams. They're just the best. And until further notice, they should play for the national title. Let one team from every other conference in and see what happens to those teams in the playoff.
All right. Thank you for making your arguments, guys. We have one more prompt, and then we will be going to the votes. Again, you can vote on YouTube. Just search 97.3 The Fan. Who won the debate? Ooh, the results have changed. All right. Mr. Ello, you're up first on this one. It's about...
We only have 1 minute left in the segment. You want to go to a whole new prompt here?
Since this debate is over, right?
I guess so.
Well,
I thought we were going to the the other one, but I know
but we don't have
I know
enough
what you're
time.
saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough time.
Maybe
to
next
really
time we'll have
flush that
two.
one.
Yes.
Gosh, what was my point gonna be?
Wait, is the voting over yet? Can you end the voting?
Voting's still in session.
Can you vote? Can you end the voting so I can be honest?
Let's end the voting.
No. I like to hold you a little bit hostage over here.
You know damn well that I don't want Alabama in the playoff, no matter what their record is.
Mr. Ello, Mr. Ello.
You're blowing your cover.
You're blowing your cover, sir. Okay, voting is over. No, I'm going to let voting go for another 2 minutes.
I do want to say that I think, one of the things the committee talked about at the beginning of the year, and this is off the debate, obviously, but they talked about an eye test, like actually watching teams play, which I don't know that they've always done. It just always seemed like a formality that the SEC teams were just better. And I like the fact that they're watching these teams, and you can see that these, like Indiana, for instance, it's not a team that in the past has been like a crazy good team, but if you've watched a game with them, they got some dudes on their team that can play. And so I just think, to your point, Chris, SEC certainly has been the creme de la creme, but they should have to keep proving that every year. It shouldn't just be, oh, they're the best, we're just going to put all 12 teams at SEC team.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Tony, because we have to just admit what we have to admit. I mean, Clemson is one of the best teams in the ACC. Georgia's in 6th or 7th place in their conference. Georgia beat Clemson by 31. Like, it wasn't even a game. And Georgia's a middle-of-the-road team in their conference. Clemson's leading theirs. That's the issue that I think we all have to deal with. And, these SEC teams are that good. But you're right. Look, at least for the first year, we'll get to find out how some of these other teams play against the SEC because they're going to get their chance.
It should just be a constant they got to prove that every year because, the thing is, we see it all the time in college and in the NFL. Week 1 matchup is not the same as facing somebody at the end of the year when they've got a completely different, in some ways, identity, in some cases, just a different team. And so, I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out. I just noticed that there were a lot of exploding heads this morning when it came to seeing Georgia, who right now, if the playoffs started today,
first team out
would be
Georgia.
Out. Boise State gets in ahead of them. And it's like, well, how can we have a playoff without Georgia in it? Well, don't lose 2 games.
True. Don't call your players idiots either.
Same way we had a playoff without them last year. Georgia.
All right, the results of the debate are in with 47%.
Oh, it was a close one.
Pretty close.
Actually, let me start this over. With 52% of the vote, Mr. LO wins.
Hey!
Wow.
52 to 47. There was a 1% that couldn't decide.
I don't know what happened to that other 1%, to be honest. It just that is a good point.
Thank you.
Chris vs. the Fans next, 833-288-0973.
That's good that it was close. back, 4 o'clock. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Mr. Scraby, Gwynn and Chris, 97.3, The Fan. First half of the show is in the books. Our first debate has been put to bed. I will say this. It was a pretty good topic, I think.
Yeah.
I think Tony came up with it because the voting, and I don't know that we're always going to have a vote. We just did today because we don't really know exactly where this is going to go. But you guys out there were pretty split on that subject. So that, to me, makes it a good debate subject.
We have a listener that demands a recount. So I will be doing that later. I got to find that 1%.
Don't make any voting jokes on this show.
On.
Come on. We're going to get into some Chris versus the fans here. It's going to take me a while to read the prize. It's lengthy.
It is lengthy.
But if you win it, you'll be happy about it. Qualified for a chance to win the grand prize. It's a 2-night stay at the Westgate, Las Vegas. 2 tickets to Soul of Motown. $150 food and beverage credit. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations. Home of legendary Vegas fun, the award-winning Soul of Motown high-energy concert style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends. When I say Motown legends, Tony Gwynn Jr., who pops to your mind first?
Motown legends.
Motown legends.
Like the Isley
I don't
Brothers.
like where this is going.
Is that where you go, Isley Brothers? I go
Yeah.
4 tops.
Okay. All right.
This is a must-see show during your Las Vegas vacation getaway. Tickets at westgateresorts.com. Let's play Chris versus the fans. What do you say?
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right. Let me read the rules.
Oh,
it is kind of cold. I need to put back on my sweatshirt, too. Everybody's like, man, how can you be wearing a sweatshirt when it's like 70 degrees? It's 61 in here, I believe. You have to make it through 3 questions.
Tony's putting a parka on right now.
I'm about to do the same. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Chris gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you'll win. If you're a first-time player, let us know before the first question. You'll get that question for free today and start on number 2. Chris versus the fans is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. Real quick about that chair. Sam was sitting there. Sorry. Sam was sitting there last week, and he was literally an ice cube. So I don't know how Chris sits in that chair with no sweatshirt.
I sat there on your one day when you were on Thursday. That fan right there, I don't know how you sit, especially with no socks on your feet. You come in here with the flip-flops on, I would die.
I
I'd be an ice cube.
love to be. I like to be cold.
I like to be
true.
cold when I have blankets, like underneath the pillow.
Keeps me alert. You turn that fan off and heat things up in here, I'll be asleep in 5 minutes, especially if Scraby's on one of his diatribes.
It does. I do remember a time.
It does put me down pretty good.
I do remember a time when it was very warm in this room. We would even broadcast with the door open. It was like 90 degrees.
That's summertime.
We've honestly never found the happy medium in 7 years.
It's either too hot or too cold.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Scraby, first contestant, please.
First contestant will go with Ian.
What's up, Ian? Happy hump day.
Hey, hey!
Hey, hey!
Hey! All right, here we go.
First time player!
First time player! Here we go. Second question. Oh, Scraby dug deep on these ones. How about this one? 3 Padres won a Silver Slugger yesterday. Give me the 3.
Merrill, Profar, and Maya Machado.
Say the first one again?
Yeah, give me the 3 again.
Jackson Merrill, Profar, Machado.
Nice job.
Nice work.
Good job, Ian.
Well, Ian, you are one question away from ending this game far too early.
I feel like these are fantastic number 3 questions.
I think they are too. I'm
Thank you.
certainly not
Thank
knocking
you.
any of them. Here
All
we
right.
go. Question number 3.
I'll be the judge.
Who is the youngest starting quarterback? We got to phrase this right.
Why? I looked at the days.
We got to phrase it right. Who is the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL this year, I guess?
Yeah, there you go. Who's the
Okay, let's
youngest
just
starting
say
quarterback?
you have to be the main starter. You can't just be a backup at start.
So Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, he got it no matter what you guys did.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Oh, it's not right.
No.
That stinks. I thought he had it. Ian, I thought you had
Stay
it.
there, Ian.
All right. Now I need to know what you're finagling with. Who's the youngest starting quarterback in the league?
In the league.
Yes.
It's not Anthony Richardson.
Yes. Correct. It's not.
Correct. Caleb Williams? I don't know. He's like 35 years old.
He is not 35.
I'll say I'll try Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. He's also 35 years old.
I don't know.
Wow, Ian, you
you've
are
won
the winner.
anyway.
Stay
Good for
right
you, Ian.
there.
Win your debut.
So I went
Wait,
back.
before you speak, I just want to say.
Before you speak.
I just want to say I made it seem as though Scraby might have gotten this wrong. He didn't. He got it right. Anthony Richardson was who I was on my mind. I thought he was younger than 22. Turns out he's 22, and he's a little bit older than Drake May, who
Drake
is
May, yes.
the
Drake
youngest
May,
quarterback
huh?
in the league. So,
Yeah.
Ian, that means you move.
I would have never
that's
guessed
game,
that
isn't it?
anyway.
game.
Ian,
That's
good for
game.
you.
Nice work, Ian.
Ian, you're one step away from Las Vegas, man. Good on you for playing for the first time and winning.
Yeah,
in
hang
your
on.
debut.
Hang on the line.
I knew
Scraby would
when
get
this
you
question was asked, how do you know that guy doesn't have a birthday after that guy?
Immediately when I was reading
said,
the
"Nope."
question, I saw Drake May. I was like, that ain't right, man. I know Drake May seems like he's way older than Anthony Richardson, but he's not.
Anthony Richardson is 100 days older. Very good.
Do you have
Scrape, I just looked you up.
Can we talk about quarterback malpractice since we got some time?
Mine as well, even though we'll kind of touch on this with Brent a little later on. But yeah. We certainly could talk about it.
Anthony Richardson is now the starter of the Colts again, and Joe Flacco is moving to the bench.
Flacco.
I feel like this is very confusing for a guy like Anthony Richardson. Like 2 weeks ago, you were saying I was a terrible human for tapping out, and I'm going to be benched now. And Joe Flacco has a bad game, and now I'm the starter again. I don't know what they're doing with him, but I think they're handling him incorrectly.
What would you have done?
I would stick with Joe Flacco.
Really, and just bench him for the rest of the year.
Let him sit there and learn. And he started like 12 or 13 games in college. He does not have a lot of starting experience as a quarterback. Let him sit behind Joe Flacco, learn and grow, and start over next year.
I think I kind of agree with Scraby on this, and here's why. He played the 12.
Scraby, you might have remarked that.
I will.
I remember Tony agreeing with you the last time that happened.
He played 12 or 13 games his freshman year. He played however many before he was out for the season last year. It's not so much that I had a problem with them benching him because there's probably an element that he does need to sit on the sidelines and learn. I think my issue with this move is that I feel like had Joe Flacco played well in the 2 games that he was out,
Wasn't gonna bring him back.
They would have stuck with Flacco. But now, because he hasn't played well, this appears to be some type of punishment for tapping out the other day. I mean, and whether it's actually that or not, it's how it appears, because why else would you be putting him back in the game if you felt like he wasn't ready to be a starter right now?
Well, here's the thing. What's the guy's? Never mind me asking, because the chat would say that I should know.
No. If you
the
ask,
first
it's
and last
okay.
name of every coach in the league.
No, they're fine with
Shane
you asking.
Steichen.
Yes, Steichen.
Yeah, I apologize to the
Chris
chat.
has this
who's
very
keeping
wrong.
track of
They don't
everything.
care if you ask. They care when you
they
say
care.
that you know and you don't.
Shane's an idiot. That's something I know, because he came out at the very beginning.
Yes, he did.
And he canned Richardson right after the tap out, and he lied and claimed that Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to win. And if you're going to lie from the beginning, when all of a sudden Joe Flacco doesn't give you the best chance, you're going to look pretty
look crazy,
lost
yeah.
when you try to go back and change it. And so he didn't have a chance after lying, but to mess this up.
Yeah.
So
he could have just, if he would have just said from the beginning, we're gonna sit Anthony down, let him kind of learn why this was unacceptable.
Yeah.
The tap out.
Simple.
He would have left himself wide open to be able to make this change again. And listen, he's a head coach; he can do what he wants, but there's going to be scrutiny because of the way that he's handled it.
How much
Eric
do you-
Spoelstra, we'll talk about it in the Big Five. Eric Spoelstra teaches all coaches
That's right.
today how to come to
Yes.
how to just admit when you blew it and be honest. We will all allow you to make the mistake and allow you right back out. But these coaches never do. Most of them lie the whole time.
The irony in all of these things is that had they just told the truth from the beginning, they wouldn't even be in the situation.
Nobody would even have asked. He could have just said Richardson's back in.
I think we're not thinking of one major aspect of this whole thing, and that is the Colts owner, Jim Irsay, is very involved in making decisions, and he could have said, I want him benched, and then he's like, Joe Flacco stinks. I want him to play again.
Every time that Irsay has dipped his toe into the problem-fixing arena, we find out. Like, it's reported, we catch him. You know, I'm not willing to blame Irsay for this one just yet. It was the head coach that came up there and told us Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to win, and now he's saying 2 weeks later Anthony Richardson actually gives us a better chance of winning these ball games.
Yeah, it's very mixed messaging if you ask me.
Here's something that's not a mixed message. Pittsburgh Steelers safety Deshaun Elliott on a podcast today said now that he's with the Steelers, he's looking forward to playing the Baltimore Ravens. Last year, he played the Ravens as a member of the Dolphins. The Ravens won that game 56-10.
You taking shots at Dolphins catching strays?
Deshaun Elliott, because of that, said he's happy to be playing the Ravens now because the team he played on last year was soft as F. Quote.
F.
Yeah.
I don't.
Straight up. Just
believe
threw the
him.
entire team under the bus. Mike McDaniel, the Dolphin coach, said he doesn't care about it. He's worried about the games. Here's the thing, Scrabe. You would think that I'm not a fan of Deshaun Elliott for saying this about my favorite team.
I would.
But he's right. I think the Dolphins are soft, and that's why they get whooped. And if you go back to that freezing cold game in Kansas City,
yes.
who looked like they were playing football and who looked like they couldn't wait to get back in the locker room? It was pretty obvious to me.
Yeah.
And I think it was obvious to everybody watching that game.
I
do think the Dolphins are soft, and even though they'll not admit it, I'm glad somebody came out and said this because maybe they'll do something about it.
It's going to anger them, right?
There is an
I hope
element.
so.
There is an element of toughness that it does seem like the Dolphins they don't really have.
I agree.
They don't really have. I mean, no part of their offense is gritty.
They don't bull anybody over,
it's
right?
It's all speed and finesse.
And they don't commit any unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on defense either.
And to your point, when it gets to the cold months of
They
December,
never win a game.
It's tough to. Speed guys don't generally do well
yes,
in the cold
they've been
weather.
losing cold weather games since I've been 10 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not anything brand new.
What do you guys think about? Maybe we should hold this to the other side.
You know we should. It's 4-14.
Tyreek Hill came out and said the reason, well, maybe not the reason, but he has been dealing with an injury this year that all stemmed from the arrest before the first game.
He's got
So
a wrist injury.
I wanted to see if you guys.
Well, I will give him the wrist injury, but I don't see how that's keeping him from running down the field and getting open the way he used to.
He's absolutely
He's
killed
not
me in
even
fantasy
open
football.
right now.
He absolutely killed me in fantasy football.
He's killed whoever had him this year. He's never open. And the only look, they figured out just cover Hill because Waddle will drop the ball. I mean, that's how you play the Dolphins. Come on.
Okay.
Soft as F.
Charmin soft? Is that qualify?
That's my take on the Dolphins for the moment. All right, traffic check. Big Five is coming up soon. Brent Sobleski later on the NFL. Stick around.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center.
422. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scrape. Brent Sobleski, Bleacher Report, will join us in the 5 o'clock hour.
If you're an NFL fan, don't miss that one. He's great. Excellent insight. Brent Sobleski.
Hold up. Let me make sure I'm paying all my bills here.
Paying your bills right now.
Boom. Yes. Let me go ahead and
Well,
do
it's an important thing to do.
He meant reads.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
He's not like my actual credit card right now.
No, not my actual. Don't let AI dictate your fantasy lineup. Instead, get bite-sized fantasy football analysis in your ears. Listen to the Sleeping King podcast. That's right. Give you all the fantasy insight you'll need in just 20 minutes every day. Every league has a Sleeper King. It should be you. Follow the Sleeper King on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. Baseball cards. Chris.
I'm going to go. This just came to my attention today, and I wanted to make sure that everybody's seen this because I think it's kind of crazy. Does everybody know what's going on with the Menendez brothers? Have you heard this in the news, Tony?
Has that been decided?
It is not.
Okay.
They're still in jail.
Yes.
And apparently they're in jail somewhere around these parts.
Yes, they're in near the border.
Okay. And for those who don't have any idea, the Menendez brothers, many years ago.
Yeah, if you were born in 2000,
yeah,
like
you
our
may
guy
not.
yesterday.
Many years ago, they were found guilty of murdering their parents. And they've served 34 years in prison for murdering their parents. And they've been in there, but now there's a movement to get them out. And apparently it's kind of being discussed. I'm not going to get too deep into the details of that, but it's a little up in the air. They may get out, they may not. They were obviously, I don't want to say obviously, but there's a lot of evidence that states they were basically tortured by their parents, and all kinds of untoward things happened to them that may have caused them to snap and murder their parents. I know this is heavy stuff.
This is unproven.
This is precisely why there is a conversation being had on whether
they should be able to get out.
Right.
Well, apparently somebody has unearthed an old basketball card of Mark Jackson, the guy who coached the Warriors.
Mama, there goes that man.
That guy. And the voice of NBA TV. And it's a 1990 basketball card of Mark Jackson playing at Madison Square Garden. And he's dribbling the ball up the floor and sitting at courtside seats, apparently about 6 months after they murdered their parents, are the Menendez brothers in the basketball card. It's quite remarkable, actually.
At 97.3
It really
Fantasy.
is because, one of the things that came up in that trial was after they murdered their parents, they pretty much went on a spending spree. Figured they,
who knows how long they had to be free.
I guarantee.
Side Nick tickets, among other things.
Even in 1990.
That was expensive.
Courtside tickets at the Knicks game at Madison Square Garden
would be
cost
costly.
you a pretty penny. And they are sitting there with one of them sitting there with the starter Nick hat as he's watching.
That was an additional penny.
It's an additional penny. It is wild for those of us who were, old enough to remember all of that going down.
Yeah,
that this picture is unearthed, and
it's crazy. I don't know how somebody found it. I mean, you have a 1990 basketball card. Did somebody go back from 35 years and look through their cards by chance and happen to see it?
I'm surprised that Chris had never heard about this until today, because I've known about this for a few years.
So
you've known about it for a while.
This has been out for a long time. Yes,
okay, see, I had no idea.
Like, this post I just retweeted is almost a year old. So we were talking about it back then, but I know that you were meeting with a friend and they told you about it.
Yeah, they told me about it, and I said, I got to share this with our listeners because I thought it was pretty crazy.
Rod said it's $20 on eBay if you want it, guys.
The card?
That card of Mark Jackson.
Oh, you can actually buy the card. Yeah, okay. How much do you think it'll be worth one day? $20?
Nothing.
I was about to say, I bet you that it wouldn't be worth $20 if the Menendez brothers weren't in the photo.
Unless every other card on Earth was destroyed, it's not going to be worth much because there's so many out there.
Yeah.
If they're selling them on eBay for $20, there's a lot of cards out there.
We're not saying to buy one. I just
No,
thought it
just-
was fun to bring up this very strange coincidence
Definitely
or
is strange.
circumstance.
And it's hilarious. Whoever was the first person who was going through their cards, like, I think that's the Menendez brothers.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Who discovered that?
Right, because 2 years ago, this documentary that has kind of brought the
Everybody kind of forgot about them.
Menendez brothers back to light wasn't out yet. So
No.
someone was just searching through their cards and was like, hey, that looks like the Menendez brothers right there.
That may be interesting one day. And so it kind of is. It reminds me a little of the story that happened with the Curb Your
I
Enthusiasm.
was just
Were you thinking about
when
that?
my man got off of the murder trial.
Guy was on a murder trial.
Oh, because
and
of the Dodger game.
He was at the
Yeah.
Dodger game, and Larry David.
I read all about that.
He was in the
crazy,
background while they're filming a scene, and it showed up.
His lawyer watched like every single second of that episode that they filmed
See,
at Dodger Stadium, and randomly
Here you are.
he found it.
Here
Spot
you
him.
are, like having to be serious, like trying to find the evidence that will get your
Get you off. Get your freedom.
Get your freedom.
Yeah.
And he has to watch Curb, which is one of the funniest shows on the planet.
He watched all the raw stuff, so it was like
so he was able to get that. That's,
yeah, no, he went to the whoever I don't HBO or whatever.
Right, whoever
and
does that,
He
yeah.
was he had to like really work at this
Yeah, I'm
because
sure they
Larry
weren't
David
willing
doesn't
to give
show
that up,
anyone
yeah.
anything.
I
And then
can't
when they told
imagine he had
Larry
an easy
David-
time of
getting
asking
that,
Larry
yeah,
David
for
for
sure.
stuff. Yeah.
Larry David was like, okay, yeah, you can go look through it, and then he found it. But I talked
Wow.
about this. This was my daily gripe last night.
a
And
good
it has to do
lawyer,
with
by the
baseball.
way.
Yeah, this is a very good lawyer. It has to do with baseball cards. So some people out there were very angry with Jackson Merrill for signing a baseball card that, they said his signature was bleep. And
Wait,
my,
what's what?
What's that mean?
so there was 3 cards. There was Jackson Holiday, Jackson Churio, and Jackson Merrill that were being sold. And the Jackson Merrill signature was the worst of the 3. And so everybody was super upset about the Jackson Merrill signature not being the real signature. And I have no idea, like, for me, the Jackson Merrill signature would be the experience of getting Jackson to sign it or something like that. But they were so mad about it.
You know what's really frustrating? For someone to tell you what your signature actually looks like. That is just wild to me. They didn't like it because they said it didn't look like his signature.
It was a quick scribble.
I'm sure he probably had signed 1 billion of those things at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure he did
Like,
too.
Come on.
If you want to know what Jackson Merrill's real signature looks like, call Jalen Waddle, because Jalen Waddle has a signed Jackson Merrill jersey now.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah, that is true. But I don't know. I just don't know why people are so upset. I don't get. No,
What is there to be upset about? You got an
they
autograph.
can't resell it. People can't prove it's his signature, I guess.
Well, by the way, not true. Every time those dudes sign something, they have
Authenticator.
an authenticator right there. So if they got a series of 3, I promise you there is an authenticator.
Yeah, but you know what? You could have an authentic autograph, and Lola the maid can still mess it up.
Where are you going with
Your friend, my friend, godson Connor, a couple of years ago for my birthday
Really bad fantasy football player.
this year,
I'm about to say, you mean
he's having
this
a bad
yeah.
year.
Yes, he is.
But he does have a couple of championships, so I will defend
He
him on that.
does.
A couple of years ago, he sent me a miniature Miami Dolphin helmet signed by Jalen Waddle. I didn't necessarily ask. He thought it'd be a really cool gift.
That's a good.
And it's signed by Jalen
Godson.
Waddle, and it's there, and it has a certificate of authenticity. I put it up on my shelf. I love it. First week it was up. I come back after the maid cleaned the room. The signature is smudged. Oh. She must have given it one of those, just a quick wipe of the whole. Yeah.
Who does that?
Lola.
What?
Is her name actually Lola?
Her name's Lola.
What possessed you to wipe a signature?
Trying to clean the helmet, I guess.
And was this like never dry ink or something?
Well, those
I don't know.
pins, on those helmets, they don't really
Sharpies?
ever.
There's no way to perfectly dry it. Yeah.
And it probably wasn't a Sharpie if it's smudged.
Right. If you look
It's
next.
those ones that click, 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 click.
The
liquid joints.
It's like a paint kind of like where you have to shake it. I get it. Okay.
I mean, it's still, if you walk by that, the helmet's in my office still. I'll take a picture of it and bring it in, but it looks still like his signature, but it is slightly smudged.
Yeah,
oh,
man.
you
like,
were never
really?
going to resell it, so it's
No,
not
it doesn't
like...
matter to me too much, but I'm just saying it was kind of frustrating.
I almost find that those things are better because then for the rest of your life you could tell that story about how you're Lola the
Thanks,
maid.
but I don't have a good, clear signature of a guy who drops the ball every week and gets me angry.
Oh, man.
Apparently, courtside tickets in 1990 were $35.
Get out of here.
In 1990, the New York Times reported that luxury courtside seats for Knicks games at Madison Square Garden cost up to $70 each for the 91-92 season.
I
don't know. Laker tickets courtside, and that's when I actually covered the team.
And apparently,
quite
Mark
a
Jackson,
bit more than that.
If you have a Mark Jackson Menendez brothers signed card, it's worth something because Mark Jackson won't sign those cards anymore from what I'm reading on the chat.
There we go. All right, that opened up a whole can of worms.
It sure did. All right, let's get to break. On the other side, Scraby's got a big 5. More Gwynn and Chris.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
I'm like a bird.
Continue on with that. Did you keep the rest of it?
Hello, 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 hello. No, I just kept the hello part.
That's the hello?
Yeah, that was the best part.
Yes.
That
Like
wasn't
you're-
the best part.
like
The
you're-
best part is
talk
you
like you're doing the
talk
show.
like you're doing the show.
And then you go, hello, hello, hello,
No,
hello, hello.
I said something else silly. That was Friday. If you missed that moment of brilliance. All right, we welcome you back to Gwynn and Chris, and we got Brent Sobleski in the 5 o'clock hour. He better be good. We've talked about him, talked him up here all show, but he'll be on to talk some NFL in the 5 o'clock hour. Plenty of storylines. Good weekend of NFL coming up.
Great weekend.
Starting tomorrow,
coming up.
actually. Thursday night game for a change. One that maybe even Al Michaels may not complain about is the Commanders and the Eagles for the NFC East lead.
By the way, I got a chance to watch last Thursday's game in the way that you have been asking.
the StatCast.
And I had Trey watching it with me. He was loving it.
It's great.
It's a good watch.
It's a different camera angle too. You
It
see
is.
more
You're
of the field.
Seeing it from a little bit higher.
Yeah, and you still get Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels, but you get like the tracking the routes on the field, and then they put up
It
different
was actually
numbers.
pretty cool to watch that way.
The only thing I hate about that stat is the random guy that pops in who's
Yes.
terrible at reading. He is so bad at reading.
What's
He's
he
like,
read?
It'll pop up and be like, the Commanders went for it on 4th down there, but 25%. He just keeps like stumbling. Tony knows exactly what I'm talking about.
The funny thing was, Chris, I wasn't actually I was just kind of listening and doing some other things. And at one point, I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
over
what
there?
is happening with
What's
this
this
guy?
I did something different last Thursday night that I hadn't done because I didn't see the game. I was traveling, but I wanted to see the highlights, but I didn't want to really know who won, and I wanted to see kind of how the game unfolded. I didn't know this.
Oh yeah,
But YouTube TV has a 17 to 20 minute highlight video that they put up after every NFL game.
You can also just go to YouTube.
I said YouTube, right?
You said TV, like you.
Oh,
Like,
he's
you don't
talking
have to pay
YouTube.
for it.
No, no, YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right.
Go to
He's talking
YouTube. I typed in, I think it was with Ravens, Bengals.
Yep.
And this whole video, and it's like 15, 17, and they take it from the opening kickoff. It felt like I watched almost the entire game, and I really enjoyed it.
You
know,
just
I
missed the middle. Like
Sorry?
you just missed the middle of plays, like the end of the play to the next play.
It was pretty
cut
good.
that out.
So if you're ever in the mood for to relive
that-
a game or to kind of watch a game that wasn't on,
that ends up
the
being
YouTube thing's pretty good.
That ends up being between 17 and 20 minutes.
It's not every play.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it's like the beginning of every drive, a key play or two, the end of the drive, and then the next drive. So you really don't miss much, But no, they don't show every single play.
That's one of the things I like about Prime Video as well. When you're watching the Thursday Night Football game, when you click the game, it gives you an option to join it live or watch the highlights that have happened
Lead
leading
you
up
to
that
there.
point.
That's a pretty good.
I think that's pretty cool
feature.
too. Yeah. Although you still can't toggle back and forth between.
I say we
that
talk
and
about this for another 10 minutes and then go to the Big Five.
carryover.
I hate the carryover. I hate it.
Well, you better get to traffic then soon.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the Del Mar San Diego Reptile Expo. Well, that South 805 is up to no good this afternoon, guys. We've got this collision on the Mira Mesa Boulevard on-ramp to South 805. Then another crash reported right past Mesa College. Those vehicles are in the center divide. And then reports of another crash on or near the Home Avenue off-ramp. So, yeah, maybe southbound 5 might be a better choice if you're heading off the split this afternoon. Northbound side of the 163 before Mesa College. Tow truck is on scene of a collision. Appears to be blocking that right lane. And watch out for some debris reported in lanes. Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a collision on westbound 8 before Mission Gorge Road. Couple vehicles blocking the slow lane. Calling all reptile lovers, don't miss the Reptile Expo, November 16th and 17th at the Hilton San Diego Del Mar. Snakes, lizards, turtles, gators, and more. Fun for the whole family, and kids under 3 are free. Get tickets at CentralValleyReptileExpo.com. And Kelly Danick, Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we're going to get started with a little bit of Aaron Rodgers news, everybody. New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers is in one of the worst statistical seasons of his legendary career has said today that he does want to play in 2025, sort of. He was asked about it, and he said, quote, "I think so, yeah," which doesn't really give you a ringing endorsement of anything. But he said...
Well, who asked him? Who else? Pat McAfee. It's the only guy he talks to.
I was like, am I going to get lost in some sort of
it's
joke
the only,
here?
No, it's the only person he talks
say
to.
Ayahuasca or something.
Right.
He is an ayahuasca enthusiast. That's
right. McAfee put that up.
Last offseason, Aaron Rodgers said he hopes to play 2 or 3 or 4 more years. Indicated that the team's disappointing season so far has not changed his feelings. He said, not really, not negative. Not really, no. Okay. He's a man of many words. Chris, you're up first today. Do you think Aaron Rodgers should keep playing?
Not right now. I mean, he's going to have to change my mind in the last 7 games. Or 8? 7, 8? I think the Jets are 3-7, so I think they got 7 games left. He's got to start looking a little closer to Aaron Rodgers. I can't blame this all on, like, an offensive line. I can't blame it any longer on... what's the guy's name? The old offensive coordinator they finally got rid of?
Nathaniel?
Yeah, they can't blame it on Nathaniel anymore. Rodgers just does not throw the ball with the same zip, and except for maybe the short pass. Like I said last week, had 1 completion where the ball was in the air over 10 yards. That's not Aaron Rodgers. So either, he's going to have to play a really good 7 games to get my hopes up, or this is going to be bad news for the Jets.
They're stuck.
Because what are they going to do, right? If he says, yeah, I'm coming back next year, I feel good, and the Jets are looking at this going, what? Wait a minute. So I think it could be interesting.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers should keep playing, Tony?
Yes, I think he should. One, I'm not all that, that doesn't get me to feel good to be forcing a guy to retire that still wants to play. If the Jets still want him back. But I do agree with Chris, though. I think you're going to need to see these last 7 games him return to, I'm not saying vintage Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if that's possible at 41, turning 42, but something in the realm that gives you hope that he could at least be what Peyton Manning was for the Broncos, right? Which is pretty much a game manager by that point. Right now, I think he's still playing as though he's the 3-time MVP Aaron Rodgers.
He's not.
And maybe that's still in there, but he hasn't shown that to this point.
Devontae Adams is trying to play like the Devontae Adams, and he's not that either
No,
anymore.
I mean, they're getting older.
That might have been a really bad pickup, I hate to tell the Jets. Devontae.
Well, they only gave up a 4th rounder for it.
Fair enough. It's not like they were dealing with the Cowboys and got a 2nd round pick or whatever.
Number 4.
We all know about Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and the concern about future head injuries. Well, Monday night there was another incident that had people talking. He threw an interception, Tua that is, and then he used his head to make the tackle. For a guy with a lot of head injuries, he sure does find ways to bump his head a lot during games. But here he is after the game talking to the media and apparently talking to them about the tackle with his head.
Tackle, how you feeling?
Yeah, I feel good. Everything's good. I went up to that dude that intercepted me and asked him, like, bro, you couldn't just ran out of bounds or cut back. It was like, you seen me and I seen you. Like, you wanted to just run me over. He told me after the game there was he's like, there's no room there. There was nowhere else to go. So he got to do what he got to do to help his team win games. And I wasn't planning on using my head to go hit him.
So there you go. Everybody was very concerned. My question for you, Tony, is why do you think the public reacts this way when Tua bumps his head every time?
I don't know. It is quite strange to me. Like, I didn't know Tua became like the
poster boy for head
Like
safety.
everybody's watching him. Like there are just literally hundreds, perhaps thousands of hits during a week of
Drake
football
May
games.
just came back from concussion protocol. There was an NBA guy who sat out. Dame Lillard sat out last night, concussion. It's happening everywhere, all over the leagues. Nobody's asking for anybody else to quit except Tua.
Tua's the only one they want to quit.
Yeah.
I think it'd be wise for him to. I think no one would look at him differently if he threw a pick and went the other way.
Yeah, just let the guy go.
Let the other guys tackle him.
I don't know. He's stuck in a hard spot because then everybody's like, "Oh man, you lost the game for us."
At this point, I think they're already going to feel like that if he throws a pick anyway. But nonetheless, I think he's got the right attitude about it. He's at least being able to make fun of himself a little bit. But I do feel like it's a little strange that everybody is like so locked in on Tua.
Concerned about Tua, that's all. We're concerned.
Chris, what do you think?
Same.
Okay.
I mean, don't do what he did. I mean, when he did it, I saw it. It happened
like, oh,
live.
gosh.
I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you really?
And then he popped right up. But,
But that doesn't mean he popped up the time the Bills threw him down on the ground 3 or 4 years ago.
And then he fell.
And that led to his first concussion.
And it started it all.
Yeah.
All right.
Number 3.
Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski said today that offensive tackle Jedrick Wills Jr.'s comment that he made a quote-unquote business decision in sitting out because of a lingering knee injury. He talked about that. He said, quote, "It was a poor choice of words. I know the connotation of business decision. That's not how he meant it. He did not feel like he was near 100% to help us, but a poor choice of words, and he understands it." Chris, you're up first. Is the phrase business decision negative?
I read this story and I didn't totally understand it. Evidently, they asked the player why he missed the game, and he said because of he couldn't go. Right? He was hurt.
Yes.
And then,
but he said he made a business decision.
Later, he said, "I made a business decision not to play." So the connotation being what?
He sat out because he didn't want
to. But
to.
he could have played.
That's the connotation.
That's the connotation is that he could have played.
Yeah.
And the coach is saying, "I don't care what he said. He didn't mean that."
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, the coach is full of crap, as usual. I mean, we go back to the same thing we said earlier. If these coaches would just be honest. The guy, didn't want to play, didn't want to risk it. And it was a bad look, I think, for his teammates. Well, I bet the coach he's got to defend that or it's going to be a complete disaster. But I don't believe the coach.
I think the context is because the coach didn't have to come out and say this was 2 days ago that the player spoke. I think the context behind it is that after that game, he was told that he was no longer going to be the starter. So he was asked about not playing that week before, which led to him losing his starting position. And if you listen,
and then he said, "I made a bad business decision."
He made a business decision to sit out. But if you, I kind of saw the video of it. I don't think I think he should have just said, "I wasn't good enough to play." But he used the term business decision when, in fact, according to the staff, medical staff, he wasn't good enough to go in the first place. So he sat out, he lost his position, and I think he was saying maybe I should have played through whatever it was I was dealing with, but I felt like it wasn't in my best interest at the time. So he's having to kind of grapple with the fact that he lost his starting position when he sat out that game.
I've heard his name many times. I think he was a high pick, too.
He was a high pick,
Wills. Yeah. All right. I think we can move on, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Number 2.
Duke basketball is facing something many teams face, but apparently they can't figure it out. Cramping, everybody. After another one of his star freshmen dealt with cramping issues, Duke basketball coach John Shire said the recurring problem was, quote-unquote, concerning. Part of it, he went on to say, part of it is we have young bodies. I think that's part of it. We got to help these guys. We're not just trying to dip our toes in the water. We got to take a hard look at it, end quote. So, Tony, you're up first. How's one of the best college programs in the world have issues with hydration?
The head coach for Duke is not happy, seemingly, with his staff on this. And I think it does have a lot to do with the fact, because it's the freshmen that are doing the cramping. And the reality is, for freshmen coming in, even for somebody as good as Cooper Flagg, who's like the #1 player in the country, there's still some levels that they got to get to in terms of conditioning. And I think right now, early in the season, they're paying the price. Now, if this is something that continues throughout the rest of the season, then the head coach of Duke certainly will have the right to feel the way he does. It's early in this season. Second game, I think, for Duke last night. I think they'll get this worked out. I think those freshmen will adapt to the conditioning and the type of stuff that they're doing in real game action.
He's got to stop dipping his toes in the water and have the guys drink some of that water.
Some pickle juice.
Seems pretty simple to me.
Some toe water. Ugh.
Go with the Aztecs, man. They use that beet juice.
They do.
That works
when
too.
they go to altitude.
Interesting.
So,
we do have one more. I don't necessarily think we should consider
Are
it part
you
of the Big
saying
Five.
it's a
because,
carryover?
See, I don't want to say it's a carryover, but we do need to talk about Eric Spoelstra and what he said after his guffaw.
It was a
last
major
night.
one. Yeah.
All right. We'll be back with that on Gwynn and Chris 97.3 The Fan.
The 5 o'clock happy hour is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Where B-Dubs is football. Visit Buffalo Wild Wings every day, Wednesday, for half-priced apps and $2 off all tall drafts. Woo! Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. We are into the happy hour. Things can get a little kooky come this hour on the show.
I don't know what's left after what we've already done today.
I got one.
Oh?
Major League Baseball Major League Baseball's ban remains after an arbitrator upheld the suspension of Bad Bunny Baseball Agency. And you're thinking to yourself, Bad Bunny Baseball Agency, like the Latin singer Bad Bunny?
Yeah, as Chris said, Bad Bunny, like the Bad Bunny, the Bad Bunny?
He did say that.
The Energizer Bunny?
Yes, that Bad Bunny.
The Easter Bunny?
Has he had an agency, and some players were part of that agency.
Oh, I did not know.
They had been issued a 5-year ban from the Major League Baseball Players Association. That was then taken to an arbiter. The arbiter upheld that ruling. And in that, it said, well, I'll just give you a little backstory. The union issued a notice of discipline on April 10th. This is the beginning of the season, by the way, revoking Arroyo's agent certification and denying certification to Assad and Miranda. These are the 3 gentlemen that represent the Bad Bunny agency. On October 30th, this case, Noah Assad, Jonathan Miranda, and William Arroyo of Remus Sports, that ruling was upheld. In the discipline on the 10th that the players union had dropped on them, it said it was denying the certification. All agents who represent players have to go through a certification process through Major League Baseball Players Association.
I can't just
you
go
can't
up to
just show up
Jackson
and
Merrill
like,
tomorrow and go,
I
hey,
represent Jackson.
I'm a Dolphin fan as well.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, all right.
Why don't you represent me, Ella?
Sure. Yeah, not going to happen.
Couldn't work. You got to have a certification. That was denied for all 3 gentlemen. And Major League Baseball citing a $200,000 interest-free loan and a $19,000 $500 gift. That was used and given to basically get clientele, which is illegal. Can't do that, at least in Major League Baseball. So that is upheld. That is one of the potpourri stories we have in the 5 o'clock hour. So, if you're represented by Bad Bunny, you might want to get a new agent right now.
I got to go find a new agent, guys.
they won't be able to represent you in terms of your new contract.
I want to know what Eric Spoelstra did, Scrabe.
Scraby?
To screw up
Mr.
the game last
Spoelstra.
night. One of my favorite coaches in all of sports.
Me too. Because he worked for his position.
Oh, there we go.
Scraby,
I already told you his
Scraby likes the...
And I've already told him that Eric Spoelstra's dad was a guy named John Spoelstra, who was at one time the president of the Portland Trail Blazers.
I did not know that, but...
Now Scraby can't stand him. He has a
that
silver
was Eric
tune.
Spoelstra's in to the NBA.
I know.
He was a
so
video
he had
guy
it in.
first, Scrabe. You can still fall in love with that.
See, did
But
he
his
get the job?
dad was
Now,
the
I need you to call his
president.
dad and ask him if he got him the job because of his dad. Because then, if he did, then I'm out on him. But he worked in the video room and worked his way up to head coach.
Yes.
Did you know that he's been a head coach for 17 seasons?
No. That's
It's crazy.
gone fast.
It's gone by.
Yeah.
I do put it this way. This is how I'm getting old, right? I remember when LeBron James and those cats wanted Spoelstra gone.
Oh yeah,
At the very beginning.
At the very beginning, and Pat Riley was like, "Nah, man, this is my Pat Riley."
He took over in 2008.
Pat Riley was on point with that hiring.
He was, man.
He stuck by it. Even how many times did they lose it before they won the title? It was at least a few.
Remember, they lost to Dallas in that first year.
That's right.
And they got off to an atrocious start, and everybody wanted to get rid of them. And then after, and I think the start of the second season, it was still kind of a little rocky. And then they turned up and won 2 championships. So the rest is history.
And Spoelstra's won even after LeBron has left.
Yes, he has.
Quite a bit.
Did he win?
Not a championship.
I was going to say.
But he didn't win last night. It was a disaster last night.
Eric Spoelstra did something that you don't see very often. He called a timeout when his team didn't have any timeouts. Score was tied 121-121 against the Pistons, and the Pistons sunk 2 technical free throws and won the game. Here is what Eric Spoelstra said post-game about calling a timeout.
Can I just pass this along before you play this? Because I think it bears pointing out. What happened was the Pistons got the last basket, and I think it was a mistake by his team that allowed the guy to get the tying basket with like 1 second to go.
He was furious.
And he was furious at his own team for screwing up the
court.
play. So he ran out on the court like coaches do and just, time out, you idiots.
Yeah.
And then he was the idiot.
Yeah.
Because the ref said, Coach, you ain't got no more timeouts.
And he looked around like,
and that was ball game.
Oh,
that was ball game, yeah. So it's even funnier when you think about it like that.
Go ahead and play this out. I'll say what I say
here's
after.
Spoelstra.
We felt like, thought Cade might be in the field. He wasn't in the field. And JB just drew up a great play. We didn't have the backside protected. It was just a really well executed play. And then I just made a serious mental error, there at the end. That's on me. I feel horrible about it. There's really no excuse for that. I'm 17 years in. We had talked about it in the huddle. I knew that we didn't have anything. I just got emotional and reactive on that, and I just made a horrendous mistake there at the end. It's a shame, because we really fought back. We had some great defensive possessions, hustle possessions, those 50-50 balls, and then Tyler was just sensational.
He caught himself from saying he effed up. He was headed down.
He wanted to.
He wanted to say it a couple times. It always makes me think back to Chris Webber calling that timeout against the Tar Heels for that national championship.
Steve Fisher, head coach.
I remember where I was when I saw it. Even at that age, I was like, y'all don't have no timeouts? No!
Yeah.
I don't understand.
That's got to be a sick feeling. Like,
I don't understand why it's a penalty. Like, can't you just be like, you don't have any timeouts?
Nah, because you stopped it. You could be stopping.
Stopping the action. You do get the timeout, by the way.
Yeah, you get the time.
You get it.
You get
it
the
just
timeout,
costs you 2 free throws.
Okay. All right, so you have to pay 2 free throws for a timeout. All right.
You got to pay.
All right, I get that now.
Yeah.
You don't have the money, you got to work it off. Sorry.
Don't you think a guy who's coached 17 years worth of NBA basketball, his brain's going to go haywire for a second.
You don't even know 17 years, 17 minutes as a coach. You should know when you don't have any timeouts.
I guess you're
that
right.
is why, you don't work off of emotion, because it can lead you down the wrong path there, Scraby.
I just think it'd be hilarious.
Oh,
I haven't seen the clip yet, but I really want to see him
come on the
running
court.
out. You idiots! Timeout!
Idiots is like the
Coach.
special word today for coaches.
Coach, you're kind of the idiot. We don't have any more timeouts.
But hey, he took that head on.
He did.
Took the blame.
That's what you got to do.
That's
right?
how it should go.
Right. Every other
Honestly.
coach would give you some cockamamie thing about the guy at the scores table.
I
heard him say we had one left or some BS. Just admit it.
And
you blew it.
Tyler Hero, after the game, said he had his coach's back. He said, great players make bad plays. We ride with Spo no matter what.
Hey, my man Tyler Hero was...
He was in the mood to say it. He made 10 threes.
He was fine.
They should have asked some other player who didn't make 10 threes what they thought.
He was feeling pretty good about himself
He was
at
happy
that point.
about it, yeah.
He was coming down half court and just launching, and it was going.
That's
in
close
for
to
him
the
last
record. I think Clay has a record, 14.
Joel Embiid returned yesterday. He looked a little sluggish,
shaky.
Little shaky.
What's he going to do tonight, you think?
Oh, nothing, because he's not playing tonight.
Oh, I forgot.
Scraby walked himself into that one.
I
knew that.
I knew
we
that.
talked about it already.
I know.
He said last night, it was kind of funny in a way, because it's already been determined a long time ago that he wasn't going to play back-to-back games. So after he played last night, the journalists trying to be the media, trying to be, what they do, said, hey, you going to play tomorrow night? And he said, well, I already said that I'm not going to play back-to-back games, but he tried to make it sound like there was still a chance. And he said,
He didn't want to get
We're
fined
gonna,
again.
Brett, what he said was, we're going to wait. They're going to wait and do what word did they use? But it was the discretion of whoever. They're going to check us out. And then when they came back to Scott Van Pelt on ESPN, he's like, "What are they going to check out?" Right? Like they knew we knew he wasn't playing.
He doesn't want to get fined.
But he didn't want to say it. But yeah, he already was out, and he indeed is out. So
Lakers, Memphis tonight.
Cup game.
These two teams don't like each other. John Moran had his comments last week after.
Is he playing?
That's a good question.
I thought he was injured. Him and Zion are trying to compete for the most missed games in their career to start a career.
Surprise, Philadelphia's ahead of Cleveland at the moment.
He's week to week with a hip subluxation.
So he might not play, what you're telling me.
39-32.
Which I don't mind, by the way. He can go ahead and...
Ja?
Yeah, he can play.
They don't care at the end of the season when you win 50 games how many games superstars missed while you were playing them.
Nah, they don't.
Did you guys see? Now, I thought this was... We were talking about Paul Skeens earlier and the Rookie of the Year and everything, and the argument is Jackson Merrill's an everyday player. Well, did you guys know that there's only 16 rookies since Silver Slugger was given out, which was established in 1980, to win the award? So Jackson Merrill is the 16th rookie.
Yeah, one just happened a couple of years ago, Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah, last year was Gunnar Henderson, too.
So it's back-to-back years.
Back-to-back years. 2017, Aaron Judge won. 2016, Corey Seager, Jose Abreu, Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Ichiro Suzuka, Nomar Garciaparra, Mike Piazza, Craig Biggio, Matt Noakes. That's the only name I don't recognize.
Well, you should know Matt Noakes. He went to Patrick Henry High School.
He lived in Poway for a bit. Yes, indeed.
Matt Noakes, I believe, went to Patrick Henry.
Was a Yankee.
And also a Tiger. I think the year he won this, he was a Tiger.
Yes.
Benito won it as well that same year, 1987.
1987.
First time a rookie won the Silver Slugger. Benito and Matt Noakes.
Doesn't this prove to you
that Jackson deserves it?
That he should win it?
You don't need to convince us.
Yeah, this is the wrong crowd.
We already voted for him. You know?
You're talking about the Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about Rookie of the Year. I mean, only 16 rookies since 1980 have done this in each.
It's impressive.
It's very impressive. He did so many things last year.
How many Rookie of the Year nominees also get nominated for the Cy Young? I bet it's less than 16. That would be Paul Skeens' argument.
Tech Debt is not an NBA Cup game between the Lakers and Memphis tonight.
What? How do you know?
You guys are just full of misinformation today.
I think it's
Tony is. I'm not jumping on that.
I think it's Tuesdays and Fridays.
So if you don't play Tuesday or Friday, then it's not a Cup game.
Well, I think while the Cup games are going on, Tuesday and Friday are Cup
I know that
games.
the Bulls are in the same division. Who did this? In the Cup division as the Cavs and Celtics.
Yeah, they have the Cavs Friday.
I mean, but what are the Bulls doing in there with those two teams? The Bulls should be in there with Beverly Hills High School and Lemoyne College.
There got to be some people.
So they had a chance.
There's got to be some beatdown teams in the in the group
that's
stage.
The Bulls. That's
See,
the
this
Bulls.
is why it's so confusing, because even two guys that watch the NBA
I didn't know.
don't know if it's an NBA Cup night because it's not a Tuesday or a Friday. It's like so confusing.
Yeah, I just put that together. So, yeah.
Today is Wednesday, so you're good.
Yeah, no Cup games.
Regular floor.
That's okay, Scrape. If you don't know when the NBA Cup is and you make a mistake, the chat will point it out to you.
You got it. Let's get to break.
Thankfully.
On the other side, more Gwynn and Chris.
Yay.
Here's some traffic.
Yay.
From the 97th.
Hi, welcome back to the show. 5:21 is the time. The name is Roki Sasaki, 23-year-old star pitcher for the Chiba Latte Mariners. Hopefully he'll be the next Padre. I think it's a little ahead of ourselves to say that, but
is it the Marines, or am I wrong?
It says Mariners here, but
what is this?
It says Marines.
I'm reading the story.
Yeah,
Chiba Latte Mariners,
I think it's the
Mariners, Mariners. But I'm not disagreeing with you, Scrape.
Okay, good.
In a world where,
because I'm looking at it right now,
and it says Marines for you.
Yeah, it's
then ESPN just boxed it up, which I find
Mariners, Marines.
Yeah, there's either an R in there or there's not. All right, let's get to the bottom of it.
No, there's not.
There's not. You're just looking at. It says Marines everywhere else.
Never believed the first time.
Yes, right.
Well,
he could have the owner of the Marines standing right over there, and I still wouldn't believe Scraby.
There is a certain truth to that. Yeah. So.
Well, honestly, I'm reading the Kylie McDaniel ESPN story, and he called them the Mariners. So that's what I read.
Some editor missed that.
Yes, they did. Chiba Latte, 23-year-old star pitcher. And the best news of all is that he can only make a certain amount of money in the majors. So it's the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets and all those teams cannot outbid everybody.
Correct. That's the best part.
It is. That's what I just said. That's the best part.
He's
That's
a
what
lottery
I just said.
ticket.
That's the best part. And we hope that between Darvish and the sometimes Japanese-speaking A.J. Preller can pry him here to San Diego. If that doesn't happen, could Garrett Crochet be another option? We discussed this earlier, the White Sox left-hander. I don't think it's much of an option. Apparently, the White Sox are saying that if they trade him, or when they trade him, because they prefer to trade him, they want a package And that package needs to be led by a high-end position player. Tony and I and Scraby all discussed the fact that the Padres don't really have anybody who fits that description.
True.
Or at least anybody they'd want to part with that fits that description.
Yes.
So, if it's not going to be Sasaki and it's not going to be Crochet, and hopefully it's Sasaki, but if they don't get him, where else are they going to go? Well, there was a list of like 35, 40 pitchers I saw on TV. I mean, there's a lot of guys they can get. So I feel like, we see the biggest names, in Soto's name, and you see the Sasaki now come into the mix and Garrett Crochet. And I think a lot of fans in general think if we don't get one of them, then it's a loss. And just, it's not like that. And last year should have proved it to you. Jurickson Profar was not on anyone's radar.
Nope.
Last summer. No one said, God, I hope they get him. I don't think too many people were into Donovan Solano or David Peralta either.
No, in fact, I said Donovan Solano is not going to help this team, and I was very wrong.
Yeah.
So, very wrong.
Is there anybody else thinks not going to help this team that we might have AJ lock in on?
Yeah, I guess when I say it, it's gonna come true. They're gonna help the team.
Yeah.
AJ's really good at finding the players.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, he's really good at
Tony
working.
said, in AJ we trust, and I think that's... I know a lot of you are going to try to laugh that off and say, well, what about the time he let Max Fried go in a trade or Trey Turner?
Get him back this offseason.
I know. That's why I brought him up. But, everybody's lost somebody. I guarantee you there's not a GM anywhere that hasn't let somebody go that they wish they didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
it's part of that game.
If sports is a what have you done for me lately world, then you should be believing everything in
That's fair.
AJ Preller.
Right.
I mean, we get that. What have you done for me lately?
Yes, I know you were great back then, but yeah.
His most recent work.
Performance was right on the money.
Spot on.
Should have been Executive of the Year, or at least a finalist, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, that was some hate right there. Haters.
People that got tired of being taken advantage of by AJ Preller out there.
Tired of getting fleeced.
I know one thing, and this isn't on Chris Young, but the Texas Rangers are never going to trade with us again. I mean, he fleeced them so many times back in the day.
Who do we get from the Rangers?
There was a time when there was almost a joke was the Texas Rangers. We called them every time.
They were just handing
us
5
or 6 years ago, and they were handing out guys. I can't remember.
There's certain teams that AJ does deals with. The Guardians, the Marlins,
Tampa
is like the top
Texas.
3.
I'm telling you, I could go back through and find a whole bunch of Texans.
I'm trying to remember. You know what it was? I don't know if we were making deals with the Rangers, but we were getting guys that were in the Rangers system at one point because obviously AJ was there. So he's pretty familiar with those guys.
When I type in Padres Rangers trades, the first thing that pops up is the San Diego Padres are reportedly in talks to acquire Texas Rangers outfielder Joey Gallo. So maybe that's what you were looking at.
No, that's not what I was looking at.
That one fell through.
Yeah, good thing, too.
Good thing, too.
Skip Schumacher's now a Ranger guy.
I mean, that's just a stopover, right?
Some say in waiting.
In waiting for Boch.
Yeah.
Well, that's the plan.
Will Venable now the
Will Venable's out of there?
Manager, so that leaves the open spot. And I don't think, actually, that at least from what I read, I don't know if Skip's going to be on the field. I think he is a special assistant to Big CY.
That's who. That's kind of what Mike Schultz's role was around here.
Indeed, it
Special
was.
assistants. Got to watch out for those guys.
Yeah, they're going to take your job.
They're going to get you.
Anytime you're a special assistant, your
job's in trouble.
job's
Do we have any special
trouble.
assistants working on this show, Scrappy, behind the scenes that I need to know about?
Frank did send me an email the other day, and his signature said special assistant.
Watch
means
out,
I'm going to get Wally pipped or something.
Watch out, player.
Oof, that's a little scary to think about.
This is also scary to think about. Raiders announced today, sticking with Gardner Minshew as quarterback.
They don't have much of a choice.
They have Desmond Ridder. It's a possibility.
Like I said.
What happened to the Raiders so quickly? You blame it all on Antonio Pierce, don't you?
I don't think it. I think it was a doomed roster from the moment he got it. Devontae.
But haven't they gotten worse this year?
They were bad. If we recall, I know they won their last couple of games that got Antonio Pierce that job, but they were atrocious when he took the job. And they're about the same.
Let me see.
Let's check the Raiders' record.
NFL standings. The Raiders' record in 2023 was 8-9.
Oh,
Second place.
He got them up there.
That's right.
And now what's their record this year?
2-7.
I got the way you
but they do have Norv Turner and his son Scott. So for those of you who followed Norv's career, you can plan on a Raider turnaround at any moment.
I have the. This is the second time today that this is a Tony Gwynn Jr. moment happened. Oh, the Bears offensive coordinator.
You are getting up there in age, too.
I'm almost 40. Next year I'm going to be 40.
That's when it starts to happen,
And I
brother.
killed a lot of brain cells in my former
You're 40
life.
going on about 73.
Yes, I did.
In the brain cell department.
You know, the brain cells do come back once you stop drinking. But
yes, but there's a lot of them that have to come back.
Yes, and
there's
it's
many
been
wayward
almost 8
brain
years.
cells out there.
I got like 20 days left until I got 8 years worth of, and my liver is regenerating nicely. Everybody,
I hope so.
The offensive coordinator for the Bears. There's this whole thing.
The former
offensive Shane Waldron.
Yeah.
There's a lot. The players were coming out just talking about this guy, saying, and Keenan Allen said he's just too nice of a guy. He didn't like hold anyone accountable. He just kind of let it go, and it just doesn't seem like the coaching staff is set up to help this team win.
This coaching staff is not set up to help this team win. Let's just kind of track backwards a little bit if we got a little time.
The Bears. All right. George Hallis founded the organization. Let's start there.
I don't know if I have the knowledge.
You're not going to go back that far?
That deep.
Okay.
But let's just go back to their 3 last quarterbacks that they've drafted. Trubisky.
Hey.
He started okay.
What?
I think he made the playoffs.
Nah. Maybe on one of those like teams that was all defense and running.
No, remember they double doinked in the playoffs to lose.
I don't remember.
Is that when the coach at that time held the tryout for the kickers during the offseason?
No, the Cody Parkey went on the Today Show to talk about things without notifying his team, and then he found out he was cut. I don't think the coach did that. It was like some stunt from Grey Goose.
Oh,
or
maybe it was.
something
I thought
like
it was
that.
the coach. So you had Trubisky. That was a high first-round pick. Didn't work out. Their next quarterback, Justin Fields. That obviously hasn't worked out.
Although I think he's good. I think the Bears destroyed that one.
And really, you can go all the way back to Rex Grossman, right? I mean, because that's probably...
Oh, let's go further. Can I say Jay Cutler for you?
How about Jay Cutler? Jay Cutler was after, wasn't he, of Rex Grossman?
Yes.
Jay Cutler was...
You're going to tell me that you think Jay Cutler was pretty good?
I think he was pretty good.
No, he wasn't. He really
Well,
wasn't.
let's go. I think he holds didn't he play for your Dolphins too?
And he was terrible for them.
Well, he was very old at that time.
He was very old at that time.
He was very, very old at that time.
I make the point about the Raiders organization because we often are talking about how things kind of work from the top down. They clearly have a disconnect from office to coach to players. Because their defense in this year is not bad at all, but their offense just looks so discombobulated every snap. And, Caleb's not helping himself at all. I mean, to me, when you watch that team, why wouldn't you want him to get the ball out of his hands as quick as possible? It's like they keep trying. It's like when you're playing Madden or college football and you keep picking these deep routes and you got to wait for it to take place. And by the time
you get sacked.
That's what he's doing. He get the ball out of his hands. But I think it might be over in terms of that staff after this season.
Everybody go 45 yards downfield and then turn around. That'll get your quarterback sacked.
And it doesn't help that Caleb Williams throughout college was able to extend play. So in his mind, he thinks at the NFL level, I can probably do this. And he's quickly learning that you can't.
Chris, before you hate on Jay Cutler anymore, he holds the team record for the Bears in passing. So,
well, I mean,
that's not saying anything because the Bears have only one Hall of Fame quarterback. His name is Sid Luckman, and he got done playing in the 40s. So the Bears haven't done a whole lot since then. With
Not
all
hard
due
to get those
respect,
records, I
yes,
think was what
to
he's trying
Jay
to say.
Cutler.
You guys are disparaging Jay Cutler too much.
Yeah, we're not.
I'm not disparaging
No, we're not.
Jay.
Ask Phillip Rivers what he thought of Jay Cutler.
Okay, that's a whole different story. Because when Jay Cutler played for the Broncos, he was very annoying.
Yes, he was.
He was very annoying.
Yes, he was.
And Philip let him know about it.
Yes, he did.
All right, more football with Brent Sobleski in the final segment of the day.
Ben and Wood.
Oh, there we go. We weren't on the stream. I was just
forgot
pointing.
for a second.
You forgot. Okay.
And there's another big matchup this
the
Buffalo
Bills and Chiefs,
Buffalo,
which they buried at 1:25 p.m. for red zone use only.
Wait, what?
They put it in the middle of the day. It's not a primetime game. Bills and Chiefs.
1:25. That's a prime time afternoon slot.
What
are you talking about? It'll be the only game on Sunday afternoon.
Really?
Yeah.
There's only one game in the afternoon slots?
That's usually the way it is. There's usually 2 games on at 10 a.m. and there's 1 game on at 1 p.m.
Oh, you're talking on regular TV.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I'm talking about they should have put him in the primetime game.
No.
Well, you got 3.
But we already discussed that. They can't give every primetime good game away.
When is the the Pittsburgh Baltimore game? Is
That's
that
a morning game.
That's a morning game.
10 a.m.
Yeah, I guess they could.
10 a.m. Bills and Chiefs 1 p.m. Also at 1 p.m. Seahawks Niners.
Let's go Seahawks.
Brock Purdy.
That's also a Seahawk too, by the way.
I have a feeling that's going to be every bird in existence.
I think
condor.
that's
It's going to be a Seahawk. It's going to be an
that's
eagle,
the
a
Oriole
hawk.
version.
It's a falcon as well.
Falcon.
In case you
It's
wanted
a
to know.
falcon. If I ever heard a falcon, that's it.
You guys know Brock Purdy has been pretty good this year.
I heard your boy putting him up in the MVP race already.
Who's my boy?
I think it's Debo. Debo said that.
Oh, well, teammates always say that.
Yeah.
But
He's
he is
very pedestrian.
Are you kidding me? His stats are great. He's
I don't know
second
what
in passing.
I just know that we aren't talking about him.
I
at
hope
all.
that Jake
should
Moody.
be.
I hope Jake Moody misses all 6 field goal attempts this week, and then runs over to Debo and says, "Now shut the hell up and get out of my face."
You know what I think would be better if Debo drops 3 passes today.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Jake Moody can go up
comes
to him.
See, I would
That's
totally be
fair.
behind that.
That's fair.
You
Yeah.
drop a big pass.
I would suggest to Mr. Moody to be to
You paying attention in this game?
right. Don't. You better know what you're getting into when you go mess
Yeah.
with that guy.
Say that to Debo and then go run behind your long snapper.
Because he's ready. The
He's
long
ready. He wants
snapper's
to
ready
fight.
for all the
He
smoke.
wants to fight.
All right. I know we have to get to our interview with Brent Sobleski of Bleacher Report. Before we do so, let's check a little traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
You guys have had over a week to practice driving home in the dark, so what is up with all these crashes? Westbound 8, an accident right before the 805. It's being cleared out of the slow lane. Also traveling on South 805 before the 8, a crash. Not showing if lanes are blocked. Now further south in the 805 at Telegraph Canyon, 2-vehicle accident blocking the right lane. Southbound 15 near the 8, 2-vehicle crash over the right shoulder. In the North County, West 78 near Nordall Road, accident involving a motorcycle. That's being cleared out of the fast lane. Up ahead past Rancho Santa Fe, watch out for a stalled car in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Joining us is a guest we haven't had on in quite some time. Happy to finally hear from Brent Sobleski. Bleacher Report joins us here. And Brent, first, welcome back, man. How have you been?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling like I've been reinserted in the lineup a la Anthony Richardson. So that's how we're going to roll today.
Very good start to this interview because that's exactly where I'm going. Anthony Richards regains the starting position. Looking back on it in hindsight, it certainly feels like this was more punishment for tapping out than it was anything else. He quickly has got the starting position back from Joe Flacco. What's your take on how the Colts are handling this whole situation?
I do feel it was mishandled, and abundantly so. If you look at the situation, well, keep something in mind, right? Let's start from the baseline of what you did when you selected Anthony Richardson with the 4th overall pick, knowing that he was one of the youngest players in his draft class, that he had limited starting experience at the collegiate level, that he was a project that would take time and needed reps, despite the ups and downs that you were going to experience throughout the entire process. Now, fast forward. Should he have tapped out in the game? Absolutely not. As a quarterback, you're a leader. I get you're tired, and you were just tackled by a 300-pound man, and it's rough out there. It's the NFL, right? I get all that. But you need to show maturity. Now, with that said, this is a young man who's 22 years old. He's younger than Bo Nix. He's younger than Jaden Daniels. He's younger than Caleb Williams. And so I think he needs that time and experience, and it's coming out in the ways that people are talking publicly, right? You had Kenny Moore, that captain of the team, come out this week and say this team doesn't know essentially how to work hard enough, right? You had Anthony Richardson say today that when they asked him about his retrospective of being benched,
that he knows how much it is to be a quarterback in the NFL. He understands that now. So now that that's out of the way, it's time to allow him to grow and develop as you hopefully expect him to as your starting quarterback. And I think you got to take those lumps as we go along. He is so talented and so young and has so much ability that Joe Flacco did absolutely nothing for this organization. He's a great teammate. He's a great veteran. He's a guy we saw catch a little magic in a bottle last year with the Cleveland Browns, but he's 39 years old. You either need to have a team that's winning or a team that has hope, and Indianapolis didn't have either the last 2 weeks.
Brent Sobleski, he is one of our favorites, definitely, to talk NFL. This is why. Brent, let's stick with young quarterbacks. You mentioned Caleb Williams, and from afar, I think it's really kind of a little difficult for us to tell whether he's playing terrible or whether he's getting the worst possible coaching. They just did fire the offensive coordinator. Maybe the Bears are trying to tell us it was coaching. Is Caleb Williams in a good spot? And if not, how does he get in a good spot there in Chicago?
Well, we're not live as it pertains to being on video, so I can't pull a Jackson Smith where I don't answer the question after trying to discuss Shane Waldron. But overall, I think it's a little from column A, it's a little from column B in all reality. Look, you guys have a scapegoat. Your offensive coordinator, it's not working. You move on. You have a defensive-minded head coach. Obviously, he's not going to take the blame, at least at this point in the process. Caleb Williams has his ups and downs, and I was just going through the process. We put out an article this week where we, as an organization, the Bleacher Report scouting department, decided to look at our evaluations of this year's quarterback class halfway through the season, see how it stacked up based on what we saw. And a lot of the things were very similar for Caleb Williams. We've seen stretches, right? And I called it the rule of threes. He was very poor in the first 3 games. He was really good in the next 3 games, and he's regressed over the last 3 games. You look at him at USC, no one ever questioned his natural ability, his playmaking, his arm talent overall. Those are all apparent. They're still apparent in the NFL. But there are stretches when he plays poorly, whether it's decision-making, whether it's how he's processing, or trying to do too much and place too much on his shoulders. And I think we're seeing that in the NFL. We're seeing the same exact player. So what it's going to take ultimately is him to improve, but simultaneously bringing in someone that can build around an offense around his skills. Because, quite frankly, on paper, Chicago is extremely talented in offense, right? Their wide receivers are really good. They have DeAndre Swift at running back. That is a solid offensive line. It's not great, but Caleb has made it look worse at times this year. So I think it's a little bit from that column A and a little bit from column B.
Brent Sobleski joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. And Brent, the AFC is an interesting picture of teams. A lot of teams with a ton of talent, but they all seem to have their flaws, right? It seems like Kansas City, who's undefeated. Offense isn't quite yet what it is. They do enough to win every game. Baltimore's offense is terrific, but their defense has definitely taken a step back. I don't think you know exactly what you're getting offensively from a team like the Steelers. How do you break down these teams in terms of who's the leader of the pack? Obviously, the Chiefs are the Super Bowl champs and looking to three-peat, something that hasn't been done in quite some time. Are they the top team from your standpoint in the AFC still?
Well, I was going to joke and say the Detroit Lions is your answer because they're not in the AFC. They're the best team in the NFL. But when you look at the AFC, one of the nice parts is we get to discover some of them playing each other this weekend, right? Yeah. So, and that will help to decide it along the way. The team I'm most impressed with, and maybe this is me being a little bit biased because my expectations were high entering the season, but how the Pittsburgh Steelers have come together week after week. Because we have to look back to where they were, not where they are now. We have to see the trend lines. And so, as an example, when you look at the Steelers, we didn't know who their starting quarterback was going to be to enter the season, and it wasn't Russell Wilson. So now he has become entrenched. He's taken over that offense. They add Mike Williams to the offense. Their offensive line has gone through transition, right? You didn't know Zach Frazier was going to start initially at center. He's been very, very good, probably the best rookie offensive lineman in the NFL. You had to bring in Mason McCormick, another rookie offensive lineman at right guard. You had to transition some guys at positions because of injuries. And now as it's slowly coming together, it's looking better and better and better. And that, to me, really shows how this group has come together and can be competitive against those teams we traditionally look at as the AFC powerhouses, when you have the Kansas City Chiefs who have those question marks, when you have the Buffalo Bills who have a lot of injuries at the skill positions at the moment, when you have the Baltimore Ravens not as good on defense. So I've been really impressed by the Steelers this year and how everything's come together.
Yeah, as Brent said, I mean, the Final Four at the end for the AFC might be playing each other this weekend.
Yeah.
You've got Buffalo, Kansas City, you got Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Brent, I always let Tony ask about the good teams because I'm here to ask about the bad ones. And I love to talk Dallas Cowboys right now. You mentioned the Bears. We've already lost a couple of coaches this season. Is Mike McCarthy like almost fait accompli? I mean, the Jerry Jones can't stay with him much longer. And if so, who else's time is winding down?
Well, I can't see that far in the future because I'm blinded by the light coming through Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Hey, they're playing a night game this week, so
that's
they'll be
right,
just
yeah.
fine. I look at the way they are, and it's situational. And the thing that I know I'm joking about the sun when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, but you also have to keep in mind how Jerry Jones responded to that question and why that's important. And the reason I'm pointing that out is this. Don't forget, McCarthy was Jerry Jones' handpicked head coach,
yes,
right?
He was.
And if we go back to that time when that occurred, I would argue that entire head coaching search was just a flat-out sham. You have McCarthy and you have Marvin Lewis. We won't get into details why it was those two people, but I think we all know why it was those two people. And Mike McCarthy was always going to get that job. And so what does Jerry Jones not like to admit? He doesn't want to admit he's wrong.
Nope.
Ever. With anything and anything he does. He doesn't even want to admit that the sun shines through the stadium and they can do something about it. So I look at the Dallas Cowboys and I see a team with talent. I know Dak's out for the rest of the year. You have CeeDee Lamb. You have investments in the offensive line. You have Micah Parsons, right? You're going to start pulling out of the malaise that was with their salary cap issues this offseason, and they can be competitive next year. So will they make a move? And I'm not necessarily sure they will, just because of Jerry Jones' stubbornness.
Yeah, it has seriously been as bad as I can remember it being for the Cowboys this year in terms of.
And America is celebrating.
They really are. Brent, as always, man, appreciate getting a chance to finally catch up again. We look forward to talking to you again down the stretch of this NFL season. And again, welcome back, man. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, Brent.
No, I appreciate it. And, hey, keep in mind, them Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl invites went out this week. So that's coming up real soon, gentlemen. I just booked my trip to Mobile, so I will be there and we can discuss it.
Brent's favorite part of the year is this part of the season.
And it's almost become our favorite part.
It has. It has, certainly. Brent, thanks again, man. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys. You have a good one.
Couldn't answer the Dallas question because the sun was in his eyes. I'm the one that's supposed to say all the funny lines around here, Brent. Come on.
That is a funny line, actually.
That was
the 5 o'clock football hour is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, where B-Dubs is football. Visit Buffalo Wild Wings every Wednesday for half-price apps and $2 off all tall drafts.
Very good. It's great.
Thank you.
Very good. What's coming up on the Chronicles tonight? Anything
what you got,
exciting?
No.
I love when we ask you 7 minutes before the show and you have
says,
no idea.
Man, I don't know.
No,
Do I have a show coming up? This is not good.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Garrett Crochet and whether or not the Padres should trade for him. And then we'll probably check in with Sammy Lev near the end of the Scraby Chronicles. Daily Gripe is there as well.
Yeah, I heard that Sam Levitt, who's doing the Inside San Diego Baseball show tonight at 7 o'clock, will be doing that show from New York City.
New York!
That really chops my hide.
I think...
New York City?
What is that from?
It was a a salsa commercial back in the day?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my. Pace Picante.
Pace Picante.
Tony and I are like prime marketing test subjects.
That's how you know it worked. I still remember.
You guys are not prime
too.
marketing suspect because if everybody accepted marketing the way you guys do, all these companies would be richer than you know what.
I remember that.
You guys remember everything.
You know what's my favorite commercial right now during football games is the chunky soup Dexter Lawrence, sexy Dexy, when he's like eating the soup and his shirt busts open with his muscles.
Is this old?
No, it's on right now.
That's a new one.
Dexter
Lawrence.
Oh, I was thinking of Dexter Manley, the old Redskin guy. Back when they were the Redskins.
Yeah. I love the Dexter Lawrence chunky soup commercial.
I'll keep an eye out for it. It's funnier than Dan Marino with his glasses on.
No, that one's pretty good.
Yeah,
you know what? There's another one when Matthew McConaughey, Christian McCaffrey.
That's hilarious.
And he goes, "What are you eating, Jerry?" And he goes, "Rice." And Matthew McConaughey looks at it. He goes, "Jerry's eating rice."
Matthew McConaughey is convinced that the NFL and food are like in cahoots. With the names. So like
Uber Eats is what it is. Yeah.
Right.
And he's like, "Jerry's eating rice."
Oh, Jerry Rice.
Exactly.
I just got it.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Chronicles up next. Enjoy. Have a good night.